Now, what's going to be the game plan for Nigel Benn? Is he going to come out firing as we saw him do so many times? 23 stoppages, remember, and he's 25 wins. DeWitt generally has been a mixture of a boxer fighter. When the chips are down, he can stand there and slug out. Apparently he's earning more money than the whole of his career now, Doug DeWitt, so that's obviously inspired him to go on and get more defences of this WBO version. I know it's not recognised in Britain yet, but the fighters don't care. It's what sort of money they can draw.
Let him go. Let's watch him. Let's watch him.
Oh, he's cut over the left eye there, DeWitt, and Randy Newman said just watch it. There was obviously a clash of heads there. He's cut around the left eye, Jim, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the referee was warning them for something. I don't know if a head landed. They were banging around up close, and then DeWitt came away with blood coming from his eyes, but that's the best possible start for Benn, the worst possible for DeWitt.
Well, we thought it was going to be a rough fight, and it turned out to be that way. DeWitt's always been a slow starter. Benn, a fast starter. 12 in the first round. Could he possibly do it here? He's got to throw his best punches and get them in the right spot to knock this fellow over, because he climbs up a lot. But he's hurt DeWitt. Sort of battle, Jim, they're not going to keep up for 12 rounds.
Well, this is the way we wanted Benn to start. We didn't want him to start circling and trying to box. What lifts him above most fighters is his punching power, and already he's shaken the champion, he's cut the champion, so a lovely start for Nigel Benn.
So maybe coming in at 11 stone 4 as against 11.8 his last fight. That suited Benn. Certainly trainer Vic Andrade has nagged him a lot, and Newman's telling to Benn to mind his ways a little bit there. As you can see clearly, the blood streaming down DeWitt's face.
The cut seems to be towards the side of the eye, so that's slightly better news for DeWitt, but it just depends how badly cut he is, how deep it is.
Countdown then for the first round. And it's some battle already, isn't it? Had to be. And Benn's catching him with his best shots and still can't get him over, though. Well, it's a question of getting your breath back here. Ralph Citro working in the corner there. He's the cut man, as they call him in boxing.
Dougie, listen up. Dougie, listen up, right? You got to use your... Hey, ref!
He's complaining he can't see, and Tommy Gallagher, the trainer's calling out to Randy Newman, hey, ref, that was a butt.
You got to use your right hand. You're only using one hand, Doug. Give him some water on the top.
Well, they're certainly looking a bit bothered in the corner there, Jim, the cornerman.
Yeah, well, they're entitled to be. That's a bad round for the champion. He was rocked a couple of times by Benn's left hooks. He's come back with a cut over his eye, and Benn must have gone back to his corner with a lot of confidence after that opening round.
Come on, you got to use your right hand.
He's the challenger, but suddenly he must be feeling pretty champion at the moment. That was a good first round for Nigel Benn.
You got to stay on the stool. You got to use your right hand, Dougie. Let's go. This is for the title. Concentrate. Use your right hand.
There's a clear
on
view of that
on,
cut, but experience seconds can staunch that okay. Second round then. As Jim Watt said, a good start there for Nigel Benn, obviously.
Now let's stop holding, let's fight.
Well, this is a fight, Jim, that Nigel Benn has always told his management that he fancies, that he's always wanted to fight DeWitt because he's not the hardest guy in the world to catch. As you can tell by that somewhat flat nose that he's got, which he says when he retires he's going to have it remodeled.
I'm surprised at the way DeWitt is leaving his head up in the air so often. He's been nailed a couple of times already by left hooks, and his corner didn't say anything about that. They didn't tell him to get his chin down a little bit closer. But quite often he's leaning back from Benn's punches, and that's very dangerous.
And then he got in the inset there, the way they were working with the rubber gloves in the corner. That's the medical commission make their seconds wear those now. Well, he's catching him with his appropriately Sunday punches here, Ben. What a tough nut he is, though. He takes some stopping, Jim, doesn't he?
Yeah, but I don't think you can take too many of these punches. Ben's getting the full power into those punches. Good punches. Most of them are catching DeWitt a little bit high, but they're still good punches.
DeWitt's style has always been to try and break the opponent's heart, and he's often taken a lot of stick early on. But the big form line in Ben's favour is that DeWitt was stopped by Quinones, and Ben knocked out Quinones from Puerto Rico.
See, DeWitt just takes so many chances. He's so careless about his own defence. Even when he's pouring the punches in towards Ben, Ben comes back with a single shot and still has a chance of knocking him out. DeWitt very reckless indeed, Reg.
Well, if he fights with his face, he's going to get in trouble here, because Ben, we know, can dig. Continually nagging them about, watch the heads, Jim, the referee. Oh! Well, that, as I say, is a turn up for the book, isn't it? Ben looking so in charge of it. He's looking towards the corner there, OK? As we get the end of the round, if it had gone down later, the count would have continued even if the bell went. Now, that was a shock. What a slugging match this has been now. Ben's been through this before, not only with Michael Watson, but with Anthony Logan, when he had to get off the deck to win. And the crowd standing up, and he's very much a hero in this country, of course, Doug DeWitt. He's always like Billy the Kid round the corner, waiting for the guy to come round. Jim, have a look at this replay.
Well, they both threw a punch at the same time, Reg, but DeWitt's was the punch with the power. It landed better. They both seemed to throw the punch. There it goes. DeWitt's landed bang on the chin. Over went Ben. He was still badly stunned at the end of the round, but he come back well, and he started blazing back himself. So there you go, they both threw a punch. DeWitt, although his weight was behind him, still had enough power to knock Ben over with that shot.
Don't get careless, stay cool.
Come on, sweetheart.
Well, don't get careless. I think this fella, that's his style of fighting.
Do nothing else with it. It's too late. You'll get it next time. Give him a look. Come on, Dougie, let's go. Look for the right hand. Calm down, you're the best. Come on, baby.
We'll see if Ben's got the recovery powers here now. He's must have been shocked by that, Jim, as you say. He nearly had the edge there, but came off worse.
Yeah, but full credit to Ben. He really come blazing back once he got up off the floor. He went back to his corner, still badly stunned, but his instincts, they got him firing back. But that's given him something to think about. There goes the confident start.
This is going to be some war, Jim. It might be a war of attrition, the way it's going. Pre-fight chat, DeWitt to show more or less contempt for what Ben has had to say. He says he hasn't fought anybody yet, certainly not as good as me. I think Michael Watson might dispute that. Not a bad idea, Jim, for Ben to just do a little bit of boxing here, stay a reasonable distance away.
Yeah, well, Ben has the power to hurt the man. He's hurt him twice already in the first round. He just doesn't want to waste too much steam. Oh, good shot from Ben.
Absolutely, but doesn't this fella absorb a punch? And you say, for how long? He did it for 12 rounds with Tommy Hearns, who was then at his peak.
See, DeWitt is not a fellow you want to tire against, Reg. These are good shots. These punches would knock some middleweights down, but DeWitt's taking them, but he can't take them all night long.
Certainly the best of the three fights that Ben has had in this country. And maybe he's hoping to have the glory that Lloyd Honeyghan had in this ring when he defeated Don Curry.
Well, DeWitt hasn't done anything really effective in this round, Reg. Nigel Benn got himself right back into the fight again well after that knockdown.
He's favouring the left hook, I was going to say, but then he cracked a right hand punch in there. Oh, he's down to that. He had to go head first down there. He's right above us on the ropes, and they've actually thrown a sponge with water on there, the trainer. That was against the rules. It won't help him at this stage, I don't think.
DeWitt has no defence whatsoever, Reg.
And the round's nearly over, though. Oh, punches after the bell is being pulled apart there. And some booing from the crowd because Ben was getting stuck in. And they're looking very angry, I must say, the crowd, on their feet, waving their fist at Ben.
You got it.
Well, what
Be a little.
now that really was a commanding round. You can't get it much clearer than that for Ben, Jim.
Yeah, well, DeWitt did absolutely nothing all the way through that round, right up to the knockdown. And Ben almost had him out of there. See, look at the defence, Reg, non-existent. Head up in the air. Really a very poor attention to defence. Eventually, he had to find his way to the floor because Ben was putting power into every punch. Lovely punch here. There he goes, all over the place, badly hurt, and he never recovered in that round. So if Ben can pick up where he left off, see, Ben's really getting the power into the punch because he's coming forward. Great chance of becoming world champion this round, Reg.
So coming out for the fourth round. And with a bit of a controlled fury now, Ben's got a really good shot of stopping this champion. He really is playing goalkeeper at the moment, DeWitt. He's stopping everything.
See, there's nothing in DeWitt's jabs as they come back. DeWitt's going to have to find some power or he's in the way out, Reg.
He almost quit the ring when he was beaten by Sambu Kalambe in Monte Carlo. But then he really showed some form against Matt Hilton and Robbie Sims. But I think some of those tough fights have really caught up with him here, and certainly Ben's making him pay for it now.
Well, Reg, I think some of these punches of Ben's have really taken some of the power out of DeWitt's legs. He doesn't really have any urgency in his work. His legs, no rhythm in his legs. The punches really have been taking their toll. Even now, no defence, look.
Brave to the point of foolishness now, DeWitt. Just pouring with that left-hand punch, that won't bother Ben.
Yep, I think a lot of the fight has been knocked out of DeWitt. There's no snap in his own punches. No snap in his movement. He's obviously still stunned from those earlier punches.
Yeah, that's a good performance so far by Ben to come off the floor to do this. It's almost as if DeWitt's stalling for time, Jim, but he can't be doing that. As you say, he can't move. He's rooted to the canvas too much.
No, I just think he hasn't recovered fully from the earlier punches. But look at the carelessness in his work even now. He's been on the floor, he's been on the verge of being knocked out, and still look at the carelessness about his attitude.
Certainly that intense sparring that Ben has had in Miami with top decent fighters and a Russian they brought in as well has served its purpose well.
Well, DeWitt is finding a little bit snap now. That was a good jab he just knocked Ben's head back with. So maybe his head is beginning to clear. But Ben unable to pin him so far in this round.
Punches are too low. Work him underneath.
Well, Vic Andretti, the trainer in the centre there, must be pleased the way his man's going there. He's been very tough and disciplined, and he's responded to that well, Ben, in training. An old soldier accepts the discipline okay. Slightly nicked around the right eye. We couldn't really spot that, Jim, as the bell went.
No, I don't think there's any problem. That looks like one of these little nicks. Sometimes they're better leaving it alone. But just maybe a little graze, Reg.
Well, Victor's getting himself excited there with a little bit of Cockney chat, which I'm sure Ben understands. Out for the 5th. And referee Newman's saying don't come out for work too early.
Well, DeWitt's head seemed to clear as the 4th round went on, and he found a little bit of snap towards the end of the round. But we'll find out here in the 5th just how much he can muster up.
Not that we're particularly concerned about points verdicts at this stage of the game. There are 3 American judges. One of them a lady, Barbara Perez, the wife of Tony Perez, referee.
Well, I would say so far, Reg, this is as good a performance as we've seen from Nigel Benn, although he did start well against Watson. Hopefully he'll be able to maintain the pressure tonight.
It's incredible, Jim, the way DeWitt tries to ignore being hit. And yet he's as sharp as a tack to talk to. He's a snappy dresser, the whole bit. But in there he's got this casualness and certainly bravery about him.
Well, Benn's punches, still plenty of power in them, Reg. They're just not landing on the chin now. DeWitt's managing to slip or smother them a little bit. But one punch, as we already have seen, can change everything.
Well, all that sort of carefully nurtured needle seems to have gone now, Jim. They're both having a bit of respect for each other here.
Ben's still setting a good pace. I mean, it's been some time since DeWitt had a good burst in the fight. He's really just trying to mess Ben around, just smother his work, but he's not doing too much of his own.
Yeah, and it's a big gamble if he's hoping that Ben will run out of gas.
Run straight inside, you're tied. Link, stop punching. Let him go, let him out of there.
Gets a bit untidy at close quarters, Jim, doesn't it?
Yeah, but still plenty of punches coming, Reg. They're not really clinching, just a little bit wild at times. Ben still throwing good shots.
You hear the timekeeper knocking there to warn the seconds. The round's over, coming up, and to alert the referee to be near them. And he is. Well, the odds here, they don't do too much gambling actually in fights here. Everything else you can get on at Vegas City, but it was about 11 to 8, I would have worked it out on dollar betting. DeWitt was favourite. 8 to 11 on, in other words. Well, he's got to be pleased with himself a bit now, hasn't he, Jim?
Yeah, well, his tactics have been right. He's been pushing DeWitt back all the way, taking the play away from him. He's come up off the floor and come blazing back. So far, excellent performance from Nigel Benn.
Being deprived of water there. Gunga Din in the corner's not quite doing it.
Right hand right behind, down to the belly. Let's go. Suck it up. Come on, bro. Come on, DeWitt. Let's go.
Concern there, obviously, from Tom Gallagher in DeWitt's corner. Come on, DeWitt, he says, let's go. As he knows he's hanging about too much, but that's because Ben is pressuring him the whole time and hitting hard. Oh, what punches they are, Jim. Is this the first rock of a landslide now coming in from Ben? It looks like it.
Well, the traded shots there and Ben come off better. That's pretty significant at this stage in the fight, Reg. They both landed the shot, but Ben's was the one that did the damage.
But at least Ben now has had the experience of a couple of 10-round fights, which he needed to get under his belt, as they say in boxing. So he really shouldn't be troubled by the distance, but he can always be troubled by DeWitt's punches. Oh, that one was the one that got away there, Jim. Almost caught the lights.
Let him go.
Yeah, but it was a nice punch, Reg. Nice idea, bringing one up through the middle. Just missed his whisker. Okay. Ben boxing quite controlled, which is good to see. He's not wasting so many punches, not so wild as we've seen him.
No, it's good stuff.
Let the right hand come. That's it.
As I repeat myself, Jim, he's so much better in this fight than he was against Sandline Williams, Ben. And before that against Jorge Amparo in the American rings.
Come on, big guy. Make what he gives us.
What else has Ben got to do, Jim, now to try and get this fellow over? I mean, he's really nailed him with some good punches.
Yep. He just has to keep doing what he's doing, but just remember it's 12 rounds we've got tonight. The last thing he wants to do is run out of steam against DeWitt. He looks stronger, he looks sharper than DeWitt. All he has to do is to keep strong, don't waste punches. But he is pretty controlled at the moment.
Had good schooling, remember, Ben, ABA champion, only lost one decision to Rod Douglas, and then he reversed that.
Well, the first decent punch for a while from DeWitt. Ben just took it and marched on forward. Another good sign.
All sorts of advisors coming round the corner now, pleading with
Get the fuck
DeWitt.
going now. 1, 2, boom, boom. 1, 2. The jab is working. Stay with it. How do you feel, Jim? Come on.
How do you feel, he says. I would think not too clever at the moment, Governor.
Get down with this guy. Jab, right hand.
So they obviously know he's behind all right, Jim.
Dougie, he's giving you the jab, take it
trying to
all
kid
day.
themselves, are
Then
they?
let the right hand
Yeah,
go.
well, all the panic's in DeWitt's corner. The Ben corner look nice and calm. They're happy with what's happening, and so would I be. Nice and calm in this corner.
Come on. Come on, big guy. Come on. Boom, the jab, the right hand. Come on.
You can start hitting up the place. So you want to go with it. Body work. Let's touch the right, let's on the chin.
Jab, the right hand.
Out for the 7th round. And to remind you then, 12 rounds for the World Boxing Organization Championship, one that added itself to the other 3 ruling bodies at the moment.
Well, Ben hasn't allowed DeWitt to come forward for any time in the fight so far, and that's one of the reasons he's been so successful. He's really been dictating the action. He really has been boxing well up to now.
Obviously, Ben would just love to knock this guy over, but I think he'd be more than pleased to get such a clear points decision anyway. But there's still plenty of time. Second half of the fight now.
DeWitt trying to come forward now, Reg. This is badly what he needs to do if he wants to hang on to this title.
Tommy Gallagher, that is, the corner man for DeWitt, who's really been sweating. So the smaller contingent, obviously, of British fans or London fans will waving St George flags early on. They're happy with it. And I can hear Gallagher saying, you're not making him pay to Witt, you're just grabbing after you've thrown punches.
See, DeWitt doesn't look as though he has anything left tonight, Reg. He just seems to be going through the motions. There's no snap in his work. Ben obviously beginning to tire a little bit. He's put out a lot of work tonight. But DeWitt still had one. Bang on the chin from Ben. Good shot from Ben.
To see Ben working out, Jim, as you've seen with the calisthenics they call it, the groundwork the trainers call it, was absolutely tremendous. As strong as anything. Oh, I mean, caught him flush, square on, right on the chin there, Jim, and just still didn't shift. I mean, that's remarkable.
Reg, I don't know what keeps this man on his feet. That was a tremendous shot.
DeWitt was telling us before the fight, well, I don't think Ben can hurt me. In fact, I'm sure he can't. Well, certainly could have fooled me.
Ben looked as though he twisted his knee or something there, Reg.
Yeah, he did. I couldn't work that one out.
He pulled a funny face as he turned there, Reg. I hope we're not going to see something happen to Nigel Benn, either in his leg or in his mind here.
Well, they don't seem to be asking him. We can't hear anyway, Jim, whether his leg is okay.
I wonder maybe if his ankle turned as he missed badly there with a punch. Maybe his ankle twisted.
He said you heard him say, I'm all right there, and the referee just had a check as well. Obviously start sucking in a bit more air now, Jim, at this stage of the game.
Yeah, well, Ben is beginning to feel the pace a little bit himself. There's a bit more life in him than Doug DeWitt is showing.
Right cross over the top. Shoulder, run to the to the body, work the body this round.
So work to the body this round, throw punches to the body, says Andretti for his man Ben, and certainly he's done a good job anyway. Just keeping Ben controlled more fighting. Oh, a good shot punch. I don't think he's going to get up from that. He's been known to get up before, but oh, that was a punch. And he's pitched forward again at the start of the 8th round. And it's 7-8. Do you want to fight, says Randy Newman. And of course, the witness says yes, but it's all over. Part of the shouting, Jim.
DeWitt has nothing. I don't believe he can recover from this, Reg.
I think the WBO have got a 3 knockdown rule in existence here. More control and it'll all be over. Yes, that's it. It's all over. 3rd knockdown. And in the 8th round, Nigel Benn has won the WBO middleweight championship of the world. The Iron Man is tamed. And what a picture that is. Almost identical when Lloyd Hunnigan in this ring defeated Don Curry. Same sort of reaction from his camp as well. Tremendous performance, Jim, and a good finish.
Nigel Benn was the better fighter right from the opening bell, Reg. He did it the hard way, come up off the floor, come blazing back, took the play away from DeWitt at every turn. I don't know that he'll actually lost a round. Wonderful performance, perfect day. A few questions were asked about Nigel Benn, but I think he's answered most of them today.
Well, certainly Britain have had a long run at the moment of losers in World Championship fights, and whether we want or the Board of Control want to recognise this or not, I don't know. But let's see the finish, Jim, again.
Well, that was the left hook, that was the one. Ben hit him, but he hadn't actually reached the floor as the second punch landed, so quite legal. But DeWitt, as you can see, nothing left here.
And there it is again, a real close-up job there. The uppercut came up and caught him, just clipped him there, and he was ready to go. Jim, once more.
I'm surprised the referee allowed it to go to the 3rd knockdown, Reg, because DeWitt obviously had nothing left. He hadn't really had a good round all the way through the fight. The referee, for me, could have called it off after the 1st knockdown.
take your left hand and touch your nose.
And the doctor's still attending Witt, while Ben is, well, obviously absolutely jubilant. You can imagine that. Picking himself up off the floor against Watson and coming back to win. That's some performance. Nigel, Britain badly needed a world champion. We've had a bad run. Well done.
Yeah.
But do you think he was going to be in command the whole time the way you were?
No, I didn't. I honestly thought, well, he thought I wouldn't be able to go 12 rounds, but I trained mighty hard for this fight. And I wanted to match him with everything he had, you know, that he was going to throw at me. And I felt really strong. 2 months I've been training. And the other thing is, I haven't spoken to my mum for 3 weeks. I said, well, now I can say, Mum, I said when I speak to you again, I'm going to be world champion. And the dreams come true.
It's almost like a Rocky film, this, in a way. Nigel, you know, you lose to Watson, you come back and win a world championship.
Yeah.
When you went down, you connected together, and then you went down. To get over that was a good performance. I mean, how were you that badly shaken?
No, what he caught me with was a peach of a punch, accurate, on the chin. I don't even know if it was the left or the right. I think it was the right. But what made me feel good within myself is that I never went to pieces. He hit me with a good shot, but I knew all the time where I was. You know, you can't go through boxing without taking a shot. It's exactly the same punch that Anthony Logan hit me with, a peach of a punch. He hit me, but at all times I still knew where I was.
Yeah. No, I certainly wasn't criticising. I was congratulating you for getting up and then winning, which is important. You know what I mean?
Well, that's
now, how about having a look at the end of that on the replay, if we can show it to you? There it is now. The right hand come over the top there, eh, Nigel?
Yeah. Yeah, when I hit him, we were working on it, and I knew for a fact, Doug, if you hit him once, he'll take the punch. So I thought to myself, I've got to try and catch him with a succession of blows. And I'm just so happy that, you know, the last time we had a world champion was Alan Mint, and now whatever happens, there's no one can take it away from me. I've been world champion.
Yeah, that's wonderful. A quick word with your handler here, Ambrose. What's in store for him next? You're going to try and go for Tommy Hearns at a different weight, or what?
We're going to try to go.
Where the sun shines, where motor racing is a religion, where the god is Ferrari, where the only colour that matters is scarlet, and where the magic symbol is the prancing horse. If you're Prost or Mansell, you're a hero. If not, you're the enemy. And here at Imola is where the 1990 Grand Prix season really begins. Brazil was nearly 2 months ago and seemingly part of 1989. And this is where the new Grand Prix safety regulations come into force, and nearly every team has got a new car. And if they work well at Imola, they'll work well anywhere. The 12-cylinder Ferrari with its automatic gearbox looks much the same as last year's, but its chassis, engine, aerodynamics and suspension have all been changed. It hasn't all been plain sailing for Nigel Mansell, though.
We've had a few problems in qualifying. You know, we had severe traffic on my good lap, and at the end there it was absolutely amazing. I hope you got it on television. I mean, I don't know what made me look in my mirror before I turned into the corner, and I looked into the mirror and I could see a car coming backwards down the hill on the grass, and instinctively I just said, if I turn into this corner now, the guy's going to T-bone me. So I braked hard and drove off the circuit, and you saw him come past the front of my car at about 60-70 miles an hour, and we were very lucky.
But the new Tyrrell, with its unique anhedral front wing, certainly doesn't look the same. And in the hands of the brilliant Frenchman, Jean Alesi, it's qualified superbly. There's a new Benetton too, with the fashionable high-mounted air scoop. And it's clearly a vast improvement on last year's car. Although there's one less here after Alessandro Nannini had a confrontation with the incident-prone Andrea de Cesaris during practice. Imola is a power circuit where all-out speed really matters, as Jonathan Palmer explains.
Of course, racing cars are expected to accelerate quickly to a high top speed, a quality that's of particular importance at Imola with its slow chicanes and long straights. Acceleration is all about power to weight ratio. The greater the power and less the weight, the faster a car will accelerate. So with 6 times the power and only half the weight, a Formula One car accelerates 12 times as fast as a family saloon. To put that in perspective, consider the vast difference in performance between a basic Mini and a top-notch Porsche. Well, in fact, the Porsche only accelerates 3 times as fast as the Mini. So clearly this means some pretty impressive performance figures. The standard yardstick, 0 to 60, takes about 10 seconds in a good family car. In the Formula One, around 2 seconds, though even this is hindered by the wheel spin that occurs all the way up to 80 miles per hour, when the car's still in first gear. Perhaps most impressive is 0 to 150 miles per hour in just 8 seconds, the time our family car needs to reach a mere 50. As the cars cross the start-finish line at Imola, they are doing about 150 miles per hour, still in fourth gear, with 5th and 6th still to be used around the flat-out left-hander, before hitting a maximum of 195 miles per hour, a typical top speed for faster circuits. So, while the older V8 engines can still be on the pace at slow circuits, as Alesi demonstrated at Phoenix, at a fast track like Imola, we should see the hard-sounding V10s of Honda and Renault and the wailing Ferrari V12 dominate the race with their superior power.
It's a very symmetrical grid. Row 1 are both McLarens, row 2 both Williams, row 3 both Ferraris. Jean Alesi's Tyrrell a superb 7th, then the 2 Benettons, then Warwick and Donnelly. And sadly, David Brabham failed to qualify for his first Grand Prix by a mere 0.3 of a second. And that's it, it's a lovely start from Berger with Senna down into second position as they go up towards the Tamburello. Berger leads, Senna second, Boutsen is in third place, Patrese is in fourth position. Now the sprint up to the Villeneuve curve, and Nigel Mansell puts a rear wheel on the grass, and there's trouble at the back. And Senna goes through into the lead, Berger second, and it's one of the Leighton House cars, it's Capelli.
Yes, quite a messy start there, or messy first straight down through the long bend there. There was some bumping and boring. Alesi was being very aggressive, I noticed there, in the pack into the first corner. And in fact, that's quite a big accident, and that looks like a Tyrrell.
Yes, indeed it is. Which one, I do not know, but I think it was probably Nakajima. It was Nakajima. Alesi is okay. Nakajima started from 19th on the grid, and Capelli started 18th, so there was obviously a coming together. Now, Boutsen is up into second place ahead of Berger, who's down. Senna is pulling away a bit, so it's Patrese in fourth place. Alesi is in fifth position. Then it's the 2 Ferraris of Mansell and Prost, 6th and 7th. Let us hope they're not going to stop the race to recover Nakajima's broken Tyrrell.
Yes, well, Nakajima appeared to be all right. I saw him standing beside the car there. There were a fair few bits hung off it, but he appeared to be okay. So, tremendous start again from Berger. As they come by to beat the end of the first lap. Incidentally, I noticed that they're attempting to clear all the rubbish away, and let's hope they can do it without having to stop the race. And Senna leading, Senna with opening a little bit of a gap now.
Ahead of Boutsen, Berger challenging. There is Patrese in fourth position, Alesi fifth, Nigel Mansell in the Ferrari is in sixth position. There's a gap before Prost, who incidentally is using the old bodywork, and Mansell is using the new bodywork. Nigel Mansell in the V12 Ferrari. There is Prost, and it looks, yes, it's the 2 Benettons,
with Nelson Piquet leading the two of them, followed by Alessandro Nannini. And Ayrton Senna's first lap, as you look at the inset, that looks like Roberto Moreno's Eurobrunn in the pits. He may well have retired after having had a tremendous bashing when his car went off very seriously in practice yesterday. So Alesi still fifth. Then the Ferraris, then Piquet, followed by Alessandro Nannini, and Ayrton Senna, as Patrese locks up, is using this opportunity to build a gap between himself and his friend Thierry Boutsen, the Belgian, as the rest of them stream through.
And here we look at the first lap accident. There was some wheels on the outside there, everybody going for the inside, and there, now you see the Tyrrell in the background. He'd climbed up, had quite a heavy impact against the wall.
And there's the spin, and it is Martin Donnelly who's spinning in the Lotus. And that's a great pity because Martin went extremely well during practice. So Alesi still ahead of Mansell, but, and that is Pirot. Pirot has spun off. Well, they're going off all round the circuit now. Now, there is Mansell taking Alesi. Nigel Mansell has got the bit between his teeth. We are on lap 3, and Alesi, the brilliant Frenchman in the 4DFR powered Tyrrell, is trying to get that place back. And here's the replay. Look at this. Nigel Mansell going through and taking Alesi, and now Senna off. That's Ayrton Senna. Is he going to be out of the Grand Prix? He is. He's not going to get away from that. Rear wheel spinning. Ayrton Senna retires from the San Marino Grand Prix on lap 4. What a sensation.
Well, I think Senna may have had trouble with his car because Boutsen had got right back behind him and had closed down on the lead. So I do think that Senna may have had a problem with his car. Yes, he's checking for a puncture on the right rear tyre, and it is flat. So it looks as if Senna may have had a puncture, when the wheel looks broken there, maybe, or is it? Now, here we see Senna in trouble. Look at the right rear tyre. You can see it going out of shape. Yes, the car's down. It's gone light on the left front wheel because the tyre is flat. So that was not down to Senna. He had a complete flat on the right rear.
And there is a very unhappy Ayrton Senna, who won in 88 here and 89, returning to the pits, the World Championship leader. Will he still be at the end of this race? Well, at the moment, on lap 6, it's 1/10 distance. Boutsen leads, Berger. Patrese is third in the second Williams. Mansell is fourth. Prost is fifth in the second Ferrari. Alesi is sixth in the leading V8 engine car. Then it's Nannini seventh. Derek Warwick in the Lotus is in eighth position. Eric Bernard, the Frenchman, is ninth in the Lola. 10th is his teammate Aguri Suzuki, the Japanese driver. 11th and 12th, Alio and Piquet. There is Boutsen, the leader, followed by Berger in second place. There's a gap between second, third and fourth for Patrese and Mansell is gaining on the Italian. Indeed, he's put up the fastest lap so far. Nigel Mansell, 1 minute 29.39, which is about 3 seconds outside the lap record, but with a full fuel load.
Yes, what's worrying, you saw that puff of smoke then, maybe. More smoke. Mansell's car is beginning to smoke in a way that looks to me unhealthy. Doesn't look like it's going to go the distance.
And here is Alesi, and it looks to me as though there's been a spin from the smoke in the background, and Alesi was in 7th position because Nannini has got past him. Race order, lap 10, 1/6 distance. Boutsen leading Berger by 1.3 seconds. Patrese is third, Mansell is fourth. Now here is Barilla with Olivier Grouillard, the Frenchman, who turns across the Italian, takes his line. Barilla spins the Minardi, the only one in the race because his teammate Pierluigi Martini is out, of course, after his crash in practice. And the race order now on lap 10 is Boutsen, Berger, Patrese, Mansell. Then in 5th position, Prost. 6th, Nannini, who's moved ahead of Alesi. 7th is 8th is Derek Warwick. 9th is Piquet. And there's the replay spin of the Tyrrell of Alesi. Well, he spun right across the grass, rejoined the track, hardly lost any time, but he's kept going. Now you are looking through the camera of Maurizio Gugelmin's Leighton House car. That's actually the bodywork that's been lifted up with the camera attached to it. Anyway, never mind that, because look at Piquet and Alesi. Now, we're riding with Piquet. There is Alesi in front of him. Piquet goes through in the Benetton, moves up a place. Now, remember what Alesi did to Senna when Senna passed him at Phoenix, the first Grand Prix. But no doubt about it, Nelson Piquet, who has certainly got a new lease of life this year. Piquet is a man who needs a car that can do well to bring out the best in him. Here's a replay as Jean Alesi, the Frenchman in the new 019 Tyrrell with the distinctive front wing, moves over. Nelson Piquet goes through, and the race order now then on lap 18. As you look at Alesi, is Boutsen leading Berger, Williams leading McLaren, Riccardo Patrese in the second, Williams in third place ahead of Mansell by 1 second. In fifth place, Prost, sixth Nannini, seventh now is Piquet. So the two Benettons are sixth and seventh, and into the pits comes Boutsen. In that inset, that is Thierry Boutsen, and we were not expecting any tyre changes. I checked on that immediately before the race began. This is totally unexpected. And now Berger leads the San Marino Grand Prix.
Yes, whatever it is, it looks as if he's out of contention anyway, because, yeah, they look to be pushing the car away. So what a great shame. A good effort by Thierry Boutsen. Led the race nicely. And that's the Boutsen problem, I think. Boutsen slowing down, yes, smoking from the back of the car. So engine or gearbox troubles for Thierry Boutsen in that replay. So Berger leads, Patrese is closer, and Mansell is closer.
And now this could resolve the second place, because Barilla is in front of Patrese and Mansell. There is Barilla in the Minardi, Patrese catching him, and they're coming up now to the Variante Alta. That's the second chicane. Mansell now closes right up with Patrese, who's got to choose his point to get past the Minardi, which has got a Ford V8 engine in it. And of course, Patrese's got much more power. Now there's the leader, Berger. Patrese takes Barilla, Mansell takes Barilla, but now the Ferrari is much closer to the Williams than it was on the previous lap.
It is indeed, but I still think what with the loss of grip in the corner onto the straight when they're that close, plus the current power of the Renault engine, well, we shall see as they set off down the straight, just if the Ferrari can do anything. In the meantime, Berger has speeded up a little bit and pulled away a little bit on that first lap with clear air, and Mansell is in the tow now. Coming down to the corner, Mansell has the inside line, but he's going to have to be brave onto the brakes, and he is. No, but Patrese has a good run at him coming out, and Mansell very cleverly hugged the inside of the corner to block Patrese switching to the inside. And that was a fine piece of driving by Mansell. He gave himself probably too much space overtaking, getting into the corner, which slowed him down a bit, but he was clever because, realising that, instead of trying to power out on a wide line, he held it tight, and that certainly defended the position brilliantly from Patrese, who would have come back at him.
And into the pits comes Alesi for a tyre change, is it? Well, we'll see. Yes, indeed it is. Jean Alesi, the Frenchman, from 7th position, comes in for a new set of Pirellis, gets out 9.2 seconds, not at all bad. But look at this. This is the battle between Riccardo Patrese in the white, blue and yellow Williams Renault coming through to complete the 25th lap, chased by Prost, and Berger has passed Modena. There's Mansell. Berger's got several men to lap in front of him. It's the old story. There's 3 men there. If they slow Berger up, it could give... There he is, and he's passing Gregor Wojtek in the second, and that is Stefano Modena, and Mansell is definitely closer to Berger now. 2.8 seconds it was at the end of the lap, and as you can see, Nigel Mansell is the fastest man at Imola. 1 minute 28.66 outside the lap record by just 2 seconds.
Berger will be very relieved that he's got those cars between himself and Mansell. He got a good run with the back markers. Mansell now 2 corners he's had to sit behind Modena. And the Ferrari team preparing for a tyre change, and it may well be Mansell, likely to be Mansell, that they're going to have to change.
So it is a V10 Honda-powered car leading the V12 Ferrari, then the V10 Williams of Patrese, the V12 Ferrari of Prost, and then the two V8s, Ford-powered Benettons, Nannini and Piquet in 5th and 6th places.
One problem, of course, that Prost is going to have in the race is passing the Williams. Whoops! And Mansell just managed to hold it with the Dallara in front of him, and really that was De Cesaris doing his usual performance, taking no notice of the leaders, lapping him, and really and now we see it again, and you'll see that Mansell is coming inside. He should know he's there. He's leading the race, and look at this idiot. And it really is a disgrace that he's allowed to continue to interfere with Grand Prix racing, and apart from spoiling the race for the drivers out there, he spoils it for us spectators. Luckily that time he didn't, but only thanks to Mansell's quick control of the situation.
Nigel Mansell gives a fistful to Andrea De Cesaris, who incidentally was involved in a very hairy incident with Alessandro Nannini, and he had the Benetton off in practice on Friday and completely destroyed the new 190 car. To say that Andrea De Cesaris is incident-prone is a masterpiece of understatement. And of course, now Berger has benefited from Mansell's problem, because the gap has increased to 6.3 seconds on this, the 28th lap. And you can see now that the Dallara is ahead of Alain Prost, who's got the problem that Nigel Mansell's just had of trying to get past an incredibly wide Dallara. Look at it. Now, let's watch. Well, Prost does not have the problem that Mansell had there. He sprints through, and it's still Berger leading. 3 seconds the previous lap faster than Nigel Mansell. And I'm just hoping, as all the Italians here will be who are watching Nigel Mansell in the Ferrari, that his suspension was not deranged by that coming together with De Cesaris' Dallara. It was a pretty violent bump. And now, as they go into the 29th lap, here is Prost. Stopwatch running. A good tyre stop is 7 seconds. So that was an extremely good tyre stop. A new set of Goodyear tyres for Alain Prost, and I wouldn't mind betting that he's gone on to a softer compound now. So the race order still on lap 31, which is just about half distance, just over half distance. Gerhard Berger leads Mansell. There's Berger by 4.7 seconds. Patrese third, 3.6 seconds behind Mansell. Nannini fourth, 5.8 seconds behind Patrese. Fifth is Alain Prost, tyres changed. Sixth is Piquet. Seventh is De Lacy.
Well, Prost, yes, he's going reasonably quickly, but he's not really making any impression. He's been lapping quicker since his stop, the two flying laps he's done, than he did earlier, but he's not, he's 27, 28 seconds behind Berger, and I still haven't worked out the logic of that stop, unless he had a problem with one of the tyres, like a slow puncture, in which case that makes it obvious the reason, but as a tactical thing for speed, I still haven't fathomed it.
And now we're riding with Alessandro Nannini. The two aerials in front of him are, in the front, the aerial is to enable Nannini to talk to the pits. Behind is to enable the engine telemetry to also report to the pits. And you can see there into the pits, and it looks to me, that's Modena coming into the pits in the Brabham.
I get the impression that Berger is not lapping quite as quickly now as he was 10 laps ago, and he's had a clear run for a few laps, and he's struggling. He's lapping around about the 1:29 mark, and Mansell's lapping about a second a lap quicker, or has been so far. Now that makes me suspect that Berger's in a bit of trouble with tyres, and of course if he is, that can only get worse. And Prost, new fastest lap for Alain Prost, but Prost is being, as is his wont, relatively slow through the traffic, and despite that is still making no impression on the leaders. Prost still 28.5 seconds adrift.
Yes, and what a battle for the lead. I'm just a bit worried about that oil that we see burning from Nigel Mansell's car, but then it's been doing it from lap 4. It may just be a leak, let's hope it is, onto the exhaust pipe.
Puff of smoke there. Berger certainly on the limit. He's been throughout the race on the limit, visibly using all of the road, bouncing it up the curbs. And when I say that, not badly, but Mansell now almost in the slipstream. He's not quite close enough. Well, he's picked up the toe there. He's getting close, and Mansell's going to go for the lead right now, and he pulls... Well, don't slap the tyres. Well, Berger should have seen him. And that was out of order, but Mansell could have backed off, but I think that was down to Berger, and he didn't see him, and that was bad driving, because Berger is not the man, or not the man I know would have done that deliberately, but he was taking the line he would normally have taken, and it strikes me now, if you look, Mansell is just in the blind spot there. He's out of the mirror, and Mansell, well, at that speed on full power, they're not easy to control on the grass. And the worry for Mansell is whether he's flat-spotted those tyres with that big high-speed spin. If he hasn't done that, then he'll recover and everything will be fine.
And that is Gregor Wojtek, the Swiss driver in his first race for the Onyx team, out of it. But Riccardo Patrese still third, ahead of Nannini, Prost and Piquet, as Gerhard Berger goes through the Acqua Minerale. Now up towards us, you can see from the flags that are being waved in the background that the Italians again sense the chance for Nigel Mansell to catch, and this time from their point of view hopefully to get past Gerhard Berger. That's Wojtek's car being lifted off the circuit. Well, I remind you that Prost, who started off on a harder compound, came in some time ago to change his tyres. He's in 5th position, and Mansell's blown it. That's a retirement, I think, coming up for the Ferrari. That oil smoke that we saw all through the race was a problem, and what a bitter, bitter pill for Nigel Mansell, for Ferrari, for the Italian spectators. That, I think, has virtually finished the race, because with Nigel Mansell out of the running after a quite brilliant drive, that means to say that Riccardo Patrese is now 5.5 seconds behind Berger. Nannini goes up into 3rd position as Nigel Mansell climbs out of the Ferrari on lap 40 to retire and walk straight away into the pit, a very, very unhappy man. That's the same thing, of course, that happened to him at Phoenix. He finished in 4th place in Brazil. So Nigel's Ferrari season is not turning out to be as good thus far as 1989 did, when he won in Brazil and Hungary. So there's the leader. Next one up, Patrese. Berger, of course, has got a problem that we can only guess at, and that is that he still doesn't completely fit, still isn't entirely comfortable in the McLaren cockpit. He's a tall chap, Gerhard Berger. We know from his own lips that he wants ideally another 10 centimetres of room in a car, and he's now been driving for nearly 48 laps under colossal pressure. I remind you, we've had 2 race leaders go out, Ayrton Senna and Thierry Boutsen, as down drops the Ferrari of Alain Prost in 4th position. Going well. And we're riding with Nannini now, and that's Martin Donnelly immediately in front, and Derek Warwick immediately in front of him, as Nannini pulls out, going down to the Acqua Minerale. He is through before Martin Donnelly, so he has lapped the 8th man. That's given Derek Warwick a bit of a breather, and he's taking advantage of it, using every horsepower that the Lamborghini V12 engine can give him as he goes into the top chicane, chased by 3rd position man Nannini, who is 9 seconds behind Patrese, who is 2 seconds behind race leader Gerhard Berger. Alessandro Nannini is being held up by Derek Warwick, and that gives Prost the opportunity to close right up on the Benetton.
Yes, and Prost is in position A to get the tow from the Benetton down the straight. But he'll want the Benetton to tow up behind the Lotus, because that will mean that he can't get the tow from the Lotus to help him. But Prost actually didn't really get onto the power quite as sharply as he might have done as they came onto the straight.
I hope we look at the leaders soon, because Patrese is now less than half a second behind Gerhard Berger and lapping much faster. Riccardo Patrese has just gone round in 1:27.7 compared with Berger, and there is Patrese. Patrese leads the San Marino Grand Prix from Gerhard Berger. So we have the third race leader, the fourth race leader. Senna, then Boutsen, then Berger, and now Riccardo Patrese. Is Gerhard Berger in trouble? If so, is it physical, or is it car, or is it tyres? Well, what a turn up for the book. Riccardo Patrese has only won 2 Grand Prix in the 194 that he has driven in. This is his 195th. He could be on his way to his third. And now we've got a battle too for third position, because Prost is past the Ligier, as is Nannini. They're up to Barilla. Third and fourth, absolutely together, and it could change here.
Going to get a bit overcrowded as they arrive at the hairpin. And neatly in line astern, there was really a few too many cars around for any heroics there.
So we've got a Williams leading, a McLaren second, a Benetton third, a Ferrari in fourth position, and that is tremendously encouraging. With Nelson Piquet still up there in fifth position in the Benetton. Sixth is Alesi, seventh is Warwick, eighth is Donnelly, and it looks as though they're going to stay that way. Now, Prost is up there again. This is his last chance but one to go for third.
Well, in fact, it's his last chance, because they'll complete 60 laps as they cross the line, and it's only down that straight, really, at the first straight of the last lap, that he's have a chance. Now, a puff of smoke there from Prost's car, but if it's just doing a Mansell, he hasn't been smoking for any of the rest of the race, so he should be all right. Now, this is where Prost, he's just not close enough. He's further back than the last lap, so unless Nannini misses a gear or something, there's no way he's going to have a go at him down into turn one. Last lap started. So a most strange decision from Alain Prost would seem, as we look back to the race leader, Patrese. Now he can almost freewheel to the flag. Berger has eased right back. He's Patrese now over 6 seconds in hand. So he can have Berger just coming into shot. Very good race by Patrese. Good steady stuff. He made the right choice of tyres. Stuck with his guns, had to drive hard, had to work very hard for the victory, and a well-deserved victory after all those races. His third Grand Prix win. Behind him, and Nannini really going for it at the end. Fastest lap for Nannini to defend that place. Good drive by Nannini. Berger struggled on with not quite such a good tyre choice as it turned out. Maybe some trouble in the cockpit still, a bit of discomfort, but a good race by him. Nannini, good steady stuff, and Alain Prost, strange decision unless there was more to it than we were party to, because that certainly seemed to cost him a chance for the win. Mansell, fine charging race, just as we'd expect, but very unlucky. The Ferrari always looked as if he'd let him down, because it was smoking right from the start of the race, and a pity we lost him.
Riccardo Patrese comes out of the last corner on the last lap, waves his fist in joy, as well he might, because he has won his third Grand Prix in his long career. Gerhard Berger second, and look how close the third and fourth are. Another lap, and we might have had a change there, but there wasn't another lap, and so the San Marino Grand Prix of 1990 has been won by the third different car and driver combination in 3 races, and that is what Grand Prix racing needs. A brilliant victory then in the San Marino Grand Prix for Riccardo Patrese from Gerhard Berger, with Alessandro Nannini in third position, Alain Prost fourth, Nelson Piquet fifth, and Jean Alesi sixth. So Ayrton Senna still leads the World Championship, but now by just 1 point ahead of Gerhard Berger and Alain Prost, tying for second. Fourth position, thanks to his win here, Riccardo Patrese. And in fifth place, Jean Alesi, ahead of Nelson Piquet and Thierry Boutsen. In the Constructors' Championship, McLaren still lead by 10 points, but now there's a tie for second position between Williams and Ferrari. In fourth place, Benetton, and in fifth, Tyrrell.
I saved a little bit the car at the beginning because I didn't have a fantastic start, and 20 laps to go I started to push very hard, and the car was responding very well. Mainly the brakes, that was the main concern before the race. They were fantastic, and so I could really push hard and brake very late. I think everything went perfect. I mean, the tactic that I chose, I think it was a good one.
I was nice in the lead. Then Nigel was coming. He was very quick. I saw him. I look in the mirror before the corner in the Tamburello, and I thought he will pass me in the end of the straight, and then suddenly I saw on the left side his nose, and I go on the right, but it was already too late, and he spin off because he was, I think, with 2 wheels on the grass. It looks very bad, and I'm very sorry because I don't like situations like this.
So the San Marino Grand Prix saw a new driver and car combination winning the third race. Who is going to win in Monaco in 2 weeks' time? Join us and see for yourself.
Nienawidzę!
Krzysztof Kieslowski's sixth film, which can be seen next week, was, like tonight's, widely praised when it opened in London recently in a feature-length version. Entitled A Short Film About Love, 10 Commandments next Sunday is back at the earlier time of 9:05.
Biology has revealed much about the way living things work. But life itself, the mysterious quality that separates the living from the dead, has remained a secret as well kept in the age of science as it was in the age of alchemy. Researchers now believe that by putting life together rather than taking it apart, by creating artificial life, they may have revealed that secret. They also believe that life is far more widespread than we assume it to be. Parasitical life forms could be colonizing our computers, our telephone networks, even our brains.
The 9 million people who read the Radio Times are now enjoying an even better magazine. For as well as being Britain's most popular programme guide, the Radio Times is now the most colourful. Radio Times, the most colourful way to put yourself in the picture.
In just under an hour, Moviedrome presents Dead of Night, 5 stories and a masterpiece of classic horror, including Michael Redgrave as a deranged ventriloquist. Before that, here on 2, we join Murray Walker and James Hunt with the Formula One circus at the Canadian Grand Prix.
In the St. Lawrence Seaway is won the driver's life, especially Ayrton Senna. First in 1988 and a commanding lead last year until his engine gave up. But although he's critical of this year's McLaren, he's in pole position again for the 30th time in 37 races. Gerhard Berger's yet to win for McLaren, but he's on the front row of the grid again, happier that the car fits him better now, but looking ragged in practice in comparison with Senna's smoothness. But can world champion Alain Prost repeat his win in Brazil for Ferrari? To win, you have to finish, and he's only done that twice this year, but third on the grid, he's in the best place to attack the McLarens. The Montreal circuit is notorious for fickle weather. It was dry on Friday, but yesterday's driving rain meant it was Friday's times that decided the grid positions. And that certainly didn't suit Nigel Mansell, whose dry time possibilities were ruined by a puncture. With only 3 points so far, he desperately needs success in Canada. Happily, today's Canadian Grand Prix looks as though it could stay dry, but wet or dry, fuel consumption could be a problem, as Jonathan Palmer explains.
Formula One drivers and family motorists alike take for granted the vast amount of research and development that goes into improving the fuels they use. Grand Prix cars also run on petrol, a bit better than the old 5-star, and teams have the option of several different blends, some better for performance, others for economy, and unleaded can also be used. It's where to put this fuel that provides a major headache for the chassis designers. A tiny Formula One car must accommodate the full race requirement of 45 gallons, now that refuelling stops are no longer permitted, whereas a family car needs only to carry a quarter of this. Safety is of paramount importance. The tank itself is made of 5 layers of rubber and Kevlar and is situated right in the centre of the car, between the driver and the engine bay, with the old side extensions that used to wrap around the driver now banned following Berger's fiery accident at Imola last year. Like the family motorist, the Formula One driver also has a fuel gauge, but one so accurate he can tell his consumption a mere 4.5 miles per gallon to the last cc, and if it's too high he can adjust the mixture setting of his engine. Normally though, it's the boffins in the pits, surrounded by computers, who monitor fuel consumption and signal any changes required to the driver. High fuel consumption only hurts the pocket of the family motorist. To the Formula One driver, it can mean running out of fuel and perhaps losing the World Championship.
After 4 races, Senna heads Berger by 6 points in the championship, with Jean Alesi a superb third ahead of Prost, followed by Patrese and last year's winner Thierry Boutsen. 2 McLarens on the grid front row again, Prost's Ferrari third, then Nannini and Piquet, Benetton's best yet. Boutsen 6th and Mansell 7th. Alesi in front of Patrese. And row 6, Derek Warwick and Martin Donnelly. Watch for the lights. Any second now, the Canadian, and Berger creeps ahead. Berger almost jumped the start there, and he's up into the corner first, and Senna gets through. Senna leading, Berger is in second place, Nannini is in third place ahead of Prost, and Alesi is challenging the Ferrari ahead of Nelson Piquet. Both the Williams have dropped back. There's a traffic jam, but with fighting for traction, lap 1, Ayrton Senna leads in this 70-lap race, followed by his teammate, McLaren Honda, and there you can see Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi. He has spun off. Will he be able to get the car started before they come round again? So it's still Senna, Berger, Nannini, Alesi up into 4th position, Piquet up into 5th, Prost down to 6th, Boutsen 7th, Mansell in 8th position, and he started 7th. And so, as I said, Ayrton Senna has got the advantage, but the interesting thing is how well Nannini is up in the Benetton 4.
Yes, indeed, and another charging start by young Jean Alesi, who was very sensible then. That was a good charge. There was a little bit of caution there as he went through the first couple of corners and got him up into 4th place. Very cautious opening few corners by Alain Prost. He's dropped back to 6th place, but that's not too far now. But the interesting thing in this race is going to be when they change tires. Now you see on the higher part of the circuit, it's almost dry. Then as they come down the hill, the lower part of the circuit, the water is still lying a lot. So the timing of assuming that we get no more rain in the near future, which is by no means a certainty, that the circuit is going to dry out fairly quickly. Remember, these big tires move a lot of water. As Senna leads from Berger with 2 McLarens, with the Benetton and the yellow flag, and Martini has they've still not moved his car. That was there from just after the start of the first corner.
And look how Jean Alesi is going in 4th position. Now these conditions must have been virtually perfect for him and the Tyrrell. The Ford DFR V8 has got less power than the Ford V8 of the Benetton of Nannini in 3rd position, and of course than the Honda engines of the McLaren of Senna, who is leading, and Berger, who is in 2nd position. But it doesn't matter so much in wet conditions like this. Senna is very much a rain master. He won his first Grand Prix in Portugal in appalling conditions. But it looks to me as though Nannini 3rd and Alesi 4th are closing up a bit on Berger 2nd. There is Piquet in 5th position. Prost is 6th. Boutsen is 7th. Nigel Mansell is 8th. Patrese is 9th. And then either Derek Warwick or Martin Donnelly, I didn't get a close enough look at the car, is up into 10th place.
Good shot of Prost just locking his brakes there over the bumps. Remember, the surface is extremely bumpy here in Canada. The hard freeze-up that they get all winter plays havoc with road surfaces, and the organisers have promised to do something about it for next year. So Senna leading, but not really putting away. Gerhard Berger holding him well, as is Nannini. They can't really run much closer than this in these conditions with all the spray that's going on, unless they're moving in to make a challenge. So fairly stalemate with the front 4. Yellow flag still showing. Well, they've moved Martini's car, but really that's not a safe place to leave a racing car, and the marshals are going to have to do something about that. Otherwise, I would think that the clerk of the course will have to stop the race, or be very inclined to stop it unless they can get that car further out of the way.
4 seconds covering the first 4 at this stage of the race. Berger is certainly not dropping back, and nor for that matter is Nannini or Alesi. Just 4 seconds over the first 4. The Benettons, who have had a lot of work done on the chassis and aerodynamics, going well, and Thierry Boutsen starting to reel in Alain Prost, and for that matter Derek Warwick is reeling in Riccardo Patrese. So Warwick in the V12 Lamborghini powered Lotus, which has got a good power spread, good for this sort of circuit, and nice smooth torque. The power doesn't come in with a terrific rush, and that's what you want in conditions like this. And last year, of course, Derek Warwick led the Canadian Grand Prix for about 15 minutes of glory. That was in the Arrows. So there is Senna. Now let's see what the gap is. He looks in his mirror to see where his teammate Berger is. You can see there. Now look, there was the Austrian in the background, who was 2nd in the Brazilian Grand Prix and is 2nd in the World Championship. Senna, of course, very much has to be the favourite for this race. He won in 1988. He was leading after an absolutely brilliant drive last year, having changed from wets to slicks to wets again, tyres I'm talking about, when his Honda engine let go. Now we're riding with the only Brabham in the race, that of Stefano Modena, because unfortunately the young Australian David Brabham did not qualify. Now look, you see that's Nannini, who is definitely pulling away from Alesi, but equally definitely closing up on Gerhard Berger, as Piquet still in 5th position goes through. Now there's the brilliant young Frenchman. He's already got 2 second places this year. He's on Pirelli tyres, unlike the majority of the competitors who use Goodyears.
Now you can see the line starting to dry on the wetter part of the track, and the thinking driver will be bearing in mind that tactics are much more likely to win this race than pure fast driving. PK already looking a little bit lonely as he chases Alesi, and the leading 3 now beginning to go away, and Thierry Boutsen, who's been climbing all over the back of Alain Prost ever since the end of the first lap of the race, has got past him, so he moves into 6th place.
You look down on the hairpin now and you see all the first 3 together in the same shot. But Senna, with no spray on his visor, nobody to fight with in front of him, and he can pace himself, and you can see, as James has said, how there is a significantly dry line developing now. The tyres may soon be overheating, in which case it'll be changed to slicks.
There's definitely a chance for to get into the pits right now. Sooner, and Alesi doing the intelligent thing there, moving off onto the wet bit to try and cool down his extra soft compound wet weather tyres, because they overheat on a dry road. And what a gaggle behind. Tremendous train of cars. This is the midfield battle.
Well, Alessandro Nannini has my admiration. He's holding on extremely well. The nimble Benetton, which is designed by Rory Byrne, but I'm quite sure has had considerable input, there it is, from John Barnard, is not suffering from a down on power Ford V8 engine in comparison with the V10 Hondas of the McLarens in front of him, because of the circuit conditions. And the handling of the car has been vastly improved. Alessandro Nannini never really felt he won the Japanese Grand Prix. He won it by default, with both Prost and Senna going out. This is last year, of course. And all right, he won fair and square. The man who gets the checkered flag first is the winner. But he said, I was not happy to win like that. He wants to win this one. But first of all, of course, he's got to get past Berger and Senna. And in the background, it's still John Alesi. We are on lap 10, which is 1/7 distance in this 70-lap race. And as you watch Ayrton Senna, it's still second. There he is, Gerhard Berger. It's still third, Alessandro Nannini in the leading V8 powered car, the Benetton. Still fourth, number 4, John Alesi, the Frenchman, in the Tyrrell Ford. In 5th position, it's still the second Benetton of Nelson Piquet. 6th is Thierry Boutsen. 7th is Alain Prost. 8th is Nigel Mansell. So the Ferraris are a real disappointment. And you can see Riccardo Patrese there with the Lotus Lamborghini of Derek Warwick behind him. And behind Derek Warwick is his teammate Martin Donnelly, driving in a Canadian Grand Prix for the first time. Here's Riccardo.
Yes, it's good to see Derek Warwick going well, and quite frankly, the Lamborghini engine, I would think, must be the envy of most of the drivers in these conditions.
And we've just been given news that Gerhard Berger, has a 60-second penalty. Now, for jumping the start. Do you remember when they got away, I said it looked to me as though Gerhard Berger was jumping the start? He has, and into the pits for tyres comes Patrese.
Yes, well, finally the flurry of tyre changes has started, albeit rather late, I would have said. I think anybody who'd changed a couple of laps ago would have been the ones who were really right. Berger's start, he clearly did jump it. He lifted off, but he gave it a proper move and he'd moved a good 2 car lengths forward from his grid, although he'd come off the power at the time when the light went green. He quite clearly jumped the start. Berger's been, to be fair to him, that's I think it's a result that he must have gambled for, because Berger's made a lot of flyer starts over the last couple of seasons. Very impressive and exciting it's been to watch, but he does tend to second-guess the green light. And here we have a replay, and I saw a bit of car flying up in the air there somewhere. Somebody clipped something. Yes, the front wing is on the ground, and that's Bernard,
who of course has been into the pits. So now we have a new second-place man this time, and it is Alessandro Nannini is up into second place. Berger is effectively out of the race unless something unbelievably dramatic happened. And there is Alesi in third position. Piquet now in fourth place, and you can see how close he is. And that means to say, as Piquet challenges and goes through and takes Alesi, the Benetton Fords are in second and third places. This race is turning out to be very interesting.
Yes, and looking at that is bad news for the Pirelli runners, because that looked to me very much as if Alesi's wet tyres have absolutely had it. Very soft compound, I've no doubt, and I think that the dry track has chewed him up, but that really should encourage him to get in and get onto dries, because this is clearly the wrong tactics to be hanging around there on wets on a dry track. It really seems that the vast majority of drivers in this race are making an elementary mistake, including Ayrton Senna, who we look at now, who still hasn't changed when he should have done, certainly 2 laps ago or more.
Senna moves inside the very unhappy-looking Olivier Griard, who, after 11 laps, has been lapped. And look at that, that's one of the footwork arrows, and one of the Dellaras. I'm sorry, I can't tell you which until I see the driver of Ben.
And Senna's into the pits. Well, he may well get away with this, because he'll outdrive the others, as we know, and of course the others haven't had the brains to come in, so I level criticism at Senna, but the only thing in his defence is he may have said, well, if the others aren't coming in, I might as well stay out. So good, tremendous stop too by the McLaren team. A lot of wheel spin, not much grip for Senna getting away, but a bit of a messy departure, but he got away with it. Now, we will have a look at Senna's lap time, and I would think that his first flying lap will be his fastest lap of the race so far by some way, and that will underline the fact that he should have been on slicks earlier.
And of course, you're looking at a new leader, Alessandro Nannini, the man who won the Japanese Grand Prix, still on the original tyres which he started this race, is leading here in Canada. Derek Warwick comes in. So now we've had Patrese in for tyres, we've had Berger in, and Senna, and Piquet, and Warwick. They're all coming in and leaving at great velocity, and it's going to completely transform the race. Now, Senna's time of just under 8 seconds was a magnificent stop and a real credit to the McLaren team.
Yes, we didn't get a time on the Lotus stop, but it looked a bit of a mess. You see an action replay now, and that was just the shot we saw before as Piquet accelerated away, getting a lot more traction than Jean Alesi, who really should be in to put on slick tyres now. So we wait with bated breath for Senna's first flying lap to complete his first flying lap, to see what time that is.
And you're watching Alessandro Nannini across the line now. Hopefully we'll see Ayrton Senna soon. Meantime, here is Alesi, who has, and into the pits he comes, and Boutsen, in fact they're all coming in, and Boutsen and Prost. So there's the Tyrrell, there's the Williams, there's the Ferrari, and we're staying with Thierry Boutsen as he does his pit stop. Now there is Alain Prost, and Jean Alesi, don't forget, is in. This looks to me, it's even better than the McLaren stop of Ayrton Senna, 7.5 seconds. That is dynamite.
Yes, and the slow thing about that stop was actually Prost's departure, because the Ferrari mechanics had the wheels changed as quick as I've ever seen 4 wheels changed. Something under 5 seconds they were ready, and then it took a couple of seconds to get the car off the jacks and for Prost to get away. But spectacular pit stop by Ferrari there.
Yeah, and this is the interesting thing now, is how long is it going to be before Alessandro Nannini, number 19 in the green Benetton there, the Italian, how long is it going to be before he comes in to change tyres? Alesi is in second place now, or was, because now Senna is back there. Nigel Mansell moves up into third position, yet to come in. Alesi in fourth place, Prost in fifth position, and it's going to take some time for the race to settle down, as up to his teammate Gerhard Berger, who I remind you has got a 60-second penalty, but who has been in for tyres, comes Ayrton Senna. Now, is Berger going to move over and let Senna through? Is he? He is most certainly not. Absolutely together now. Berger well down in the race, of course, because of the combination of the 60-second penalty for jumping the start and his pit stop. And he passed Ayrton Senna. We didn't see that. That was a replay.
Well, of course, that Senna is on cold tyres, having just come out of the pits. He's now had a lap in which to warm them up. He's following Berger. It'll be interesting to see. He's got to tiptoe a little bit here, because although there's a dry line, if he gets off it at all on those slick tyres, it'll all get a bit exciting. Good shot of Berger here, working away in the cockpit. Tremendous concentration, fairly light control on the steering at this stage. And there's a set of wets just come off, very hot, steam pouring off them, well over the boiling point of water.
About 15, is Nannini coming in now, or is he not? The gap is 17 seconds, or was, between the man you're watching, Alessandro Nannini, on his original tyres, and Ayrton Senna, who has changed and is up to racing speed.
Yes, and his first flying lap was 7 seconds quicker than his previous lap on, as Nannini goes into the pits, albeit a little bit late. And Senna some 7 seconds faster than his fastest lap on wets just then, his first flying lap on dry tyres, and that really, I think, says that he was quite a bit, 2 or 3 laps, or certainly 2 laps too late.
And this is an awful stop. It's really hampering Nannini, 13 seconds. So on the pit stop alone, Ayrton Senna has gained 5 seconds.
And Senna is right behind Modena now, looking for a way past, and he goes through too. And on the wet bit now, you see what happens in slicks. And that's the problem that Senna's got, of course. When you're on slicks, you daren't leave the dry line, or you have to shut your eyes and really pray when you get off the dry line in order to pass somebody.
Ayrton Senna leading by nearly 15 seconds now from, in second position, it's Alain Prost has gone up to second position after the stops. Saw Berger ripping off one of his tear-offs there. It must be getting very dirty in these conditions, but on lap 17 out of 70, it is Ayrton Senna in the lead. It is Prost in second position. Watch this replay and see how Senna, you see, that's how good a racing driver's reflexes have to be. He just put his right-hand wheels on that wet patch, instantly lost traction, the car got out of shape, and Senna fought it back into line immediately. As I was saying, Senna is leading. Alain Prost, his deadly rival, his teammate from the past 2 years in McLaren, but this year in a Ferrari, is in second position. In third place, it's Thierry Boutsen, and there was the Ferrari, and there is Boutsen. That is the gap. With the yellow flashes, that is Alain Prost. Now, as they fight their way through the traffic, Prost has passed Capelli, and Boutsen has just passed Wojtek, and Prost now has got to get ahead of Suzuki in the Lola, and he does so. And Thierry Boutsen, last year's winner, now in third place, and the gap between Senna and Prost is up to 27 seconds now. So the Brazilian is using all his considerable racecraft and his new tyres. With Alain Prost in the semi-automatic gearbox Ferrari, is it going to last the race? In second position, ahead of Thierry Boutsen. In fourth position, it is Nelson Piquet. In fifth position, it is Nigel Mansell. Both the Ferraris in the top 5. Sixth in the points, Derek Warwick in the Lotus. And behind him is Riccardo Patrese. Ahead of, in 8th position, Gerhard Berger.
And you see now the tremendous advantage that the quicker men have on slick tyres against those drivers who are stuck on wets. And Prost and Boutsen set for a bit of a tussle. Boutsen, remember, no doubt likes the circuit a great deal after his victory here last year. And it seems a character of Montreal in June to have this changeable weather. It seems to be a fairly regular feature of the Canadian Grand Prix these days. We had showers last year, threw the race into some confusion, from which the person who remained coolest, calmest and held it all together to the end was Thierry Boutsen. And Boutsen really climbing all over the back of Prost. Good attacking driving from Boutsen, but we are, of course, Boutsen has this problem with, if he's going to pass, he's got to dip out onto the slippery bit of the circuit, he's got to move off the dry line, and that really negates any efforts at the moment unless he can force Prost into some sort of a mistake.
And not so very far behind them is the evergreen Nelson Piquet in the Benetton Ford. Ayrton Senna, of course, he doesn't realise what the battle is going on behind him, but it is between Prost and Boutsen, and he won't care because Prost and Boutsen are making it difficult for each other. Each wants the fastest line. Prost has got to try and stop Boutsen getting past. And there in the background, you saw the Benetton. It's very close indeed between Prost second, there he is, Boutsen third, there he is, as they come down to the very difficult pits corner, and Nelson Piquet, who is in fourth place, ahead of the second Ferrari of Nigel Mansell. Look back at there, you just saw Nelson Piquet. And Piquet is actually catching the Ferrari and the Williams Renault. By the way, hats off again to Renault, who came back into racing last year. They won with Thierry Boutsen here and in Australia, and a lot of second places with Riccardo Patrese, and now Prost is being held up by the Ligier. There is the gap, nearly 30 seconds, and Boutsen loses it, and straight into the Ligier. So Boutsen out of the race, up into third position goes Nelson Piquet, and Boutsen is going to try and struggle back to the pits, but he's out of the race, I think.
And Boutsen dips out to try and go past, and onto the wet, loses control of the car, completely under braking. The car snaps back across in front of Prost and takes Larini out, and Prost did very well to anchor up to avoid all the debris there.
Nelson Piquet, and you can see Nigel Mansell coming up into the picture. There he is. Ferrari second, Benetton third, Ferrari fourth of Nigel Mansell. In fifth position, it is still Derek Warwick, as he was last year, doing well in the Canadian Grand Prix. Sixth, Berger. Seventh, Patrese. In eighth position, it is Martin Donnelly. So both the Lotuses are doing well. Mansell. Nigel desperately needs points in this race. He's only finished once this year to get just 3 points. Fourth in Brazil. And it certainly hasn't been for lack of trying. It certainly hasn't been because he's lost any of his ability, as you can see for yourselves, because Nelson Piquet in third position is making no ground up at all on Alain Prost, whereas Mansell is certainly making gain on Nelson Piquet. So, over the line, Nigel Mansell. And of course, they have all been in for tyres. There's Derek Warwick. And behind Derek Warwick, Riccardo Patrese. So again, positions, because we are on the 24th lap now in this 70-lap race. And now it's just a question of time, I think, before Mansell, and the track is drying out all the time. You can see that light-coloured strip is getting wider, but there's no margin for them to move off it, because even there, you see on the inside, it's slippery and shiny, and that is Nannini. Alessandro Nannini in the background, walking, so he's perfectly all right. Now, this will be a replay. Let's see what happened as Patrese in the Williams Cup. That is exactly where Senna had his problem, but unlike Senna, Nannini did not succeed in holding it.
and there's no friction between the tyres and the grass and the track on this wet part. Straight into the tyres and the Armco, and out of the race goes Alessandro Nannini in his Benetton Ford, the man who led the race before he changed his tyres.
And that again was the problem of having to get off the dry line onto the wet to try and pass slower cars. And that certainly caught Nannini out. And that, of course, is probably one of the wettest bits of the circuit too. As Murray said, we saw Senna have a little twitch there, and he wasn't really pressing at all hard. Nannini trying to make up time because he lost a lot on the road anyway by making such a late pit stop. And now you see Senna cutting down Berger's lead. Now, going back to what I was saying about when to make your pit stop, the reason that we don't have Berger, we're not calling him in first place because, of course, of his minute penalty. But Berger is actually in 5th place with his penalty, as Alesi still charging away there. But the interesting point is that Berger, because of stopping earlier than Senna, we didn't see that either, but he was in before Senna, he had a big lead over Senna. And that was because he made the pit stop at the right time. Now, it does amaze me that these drivers, with all the historical information, the experience of seeing other people in lower formulae about when to stop, they all stop too late. It's quite extraordinary.
Well, you really are seeing some superlative driving now as Gerhard Berger dives through the traffic, followed by Ayrton Senna, who has got behind him Jean Alesi, followed by Martin Donnelly. And you saw Alesi passing Donnelly at the hairpin, and Berger is still staying ahead of Ayrton Senna on the track, and he's actually up into 5th position in the race, and that takes account of his 60-second penalty. So the Austrian is really charging, and on lap 25 you watch the race leader Ayrton Senna, who is well over half a minute now ahead of Alain Prost in 2nd position, with Nelson Piquet 3rd. That's Griard spinning, and in 4th position it's Nigel Mansell, and you know how close he is to Nelson Piquet in the Benetton. As Berger goes through, there is Senna, followed by Alesi. Berger goes past Griard into the hairpin. This is real short circuit stuff, diving in and out of the traffic. And don't forget that they can lose adhesion very, very easily if they just go even a few inches off the line. But oh dear, Gerhard Berger's had some problems this year. He went into the tyre wall at Phoenix and then out of the race in his first race for McLaren, having started in pole position. He finished 2nd in Brazil, he finished 2nd in San Marino. In Monaco he was in 3rd position, and that jump start when he eased away just a fraction before the lights turned from red to green has cost him dear. Meantime, Prost and Piquet, there they are in the Scarlet Ferrari and the multicoloured Benetton Ford, are still at it, hammer and tongs on lap 28. And my goodness, that is Jean Alesi in exactly the same place as Nannini. He's hit Nannini's car. Thank heavens Nannini's well away from it. And exactly the same, that was where Senna nearly went off. So once again, we have had a demonstration of how brilliant Senna is. He held it, and neither Nannini nor Alesi succeeded.
Yes, Alesi, anyway, luckily didn't appear to hit it too hard and hit the car. And here we see him, he dipped out onto the wet, and there it is, the brakes lock, all the skew whip, and no deceleration at all, sideways on the wet grass, and then he climbs straight up the Benetton. Now that can be very nasty in accidents, but the speed was fairly low, and he was quite unhurt by the look of it. You'll just see, oh well, he hopped straight out of the car.
I'll tell you that out of the race already have gone Pierluigi Martini, very, very early in the race, of course. We saw them on the 2nd lap trying to get past his Minardi. Thierry Boutsen went out after that contact, and Larini has gone out after contact. Nannini just went off at almost exactly the same place where Senna didn't go off, and he has now been joined by Alesi. Now, Gerhard Berger, who is 11 seconds ahead of Ayrton Senna on the road. Of course, he's nearly a full lap behind him, in fact. But Ayrton Senna, well on his own. Exactly 30 seconds. He's maintaining the gap between himself and Alain Prost. Terrific scrap between Prost Piquet and Mansell, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Here is the battle, but for 6th and 7th, between Riccardo Patrese and Derek Warwick. And Lotus, I'm happy to say, really seem to be getting on top of the new car designed by Frank Durney with its Lamborghini V12 engine. They had a dreadful start to 1990. In fact, Derek Warwick has only finished in one race, and his teammate Martin Donnelly in the same way has only finished in one race. But the good news is, as you look at the caption there, Senna, Prost, Piquet, Mansell, Berger, Patrese, that both the Lotus cars are not only running but well up, because there is Warwick challenging Patrese and going through and taking 6th position. So Warwick is in the points, and not so far behind Riccardo Patrese's Williams Renault is the 2nd Lotus of Martin Donnelly in 8th position. So it's Warwick 6th, Patrese 7th now, and then Donnelly in 8th position, and Mansell starting another charge as they come up now to try and lap Nakajima, who's in the way.
Yes, and Piquet will be looking for Nakajima to cause a bit of a schmozzle, but he doesn't. He very politely and correctly pulls right out of the way of the quicker men, gives them all the space they need, and that was good tail-end driving.
Martin Donnelly in 8th position, about to be lapped by Prost, Piquet and Mansell, who is the fastest man on the circuit. Nigel Mansell, lap 41, and we are now on lap 42, went round in 1 minute 23.8, which is the fastest lap of the race, and is actually a new lap record. That shows you how things have improved, because Ayrton Senna's lap record from 1989 was 1 minute 24.9. So the flying Nigel Mansell has really got the bit between his teeth. There it is, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. They're all being held up by Donnelly, who doesn't see any good reason why he should move over onto the wet, and I don't blame him one little bit. We've seen what happens when you do, with Alesi going off and with Nannini going off, and Senna nearly going off, and it's still pretty damp there. Not wet, damp, and in some ways that can be worse, and that's where they went off. So Martin Donnelly, 8th position, with Riccardo Patrese 7th ahead of him, and he is 20 seconds behind Riccardo Patrese. And there's that wonderful view of the circuit with the Olympic rowing strip, the St. Lawrence Seaway on one side, the Olympic rowing strip on the other, as Prost 2nd with the yellow flashes on the Ferrari. Veteran Nelson Piquet, 3 times world champion, 14 times a Grand Prix winner, Nigel Mansell follows them, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, pulling away from Martin Donnelly. And this is real Grand Prix racing. And into the pits comes Riccardo Patrese. Now, why is this tyres? It doesn't know. No one's doing anything about the tyres in the front. Yes, they're doing something about them now. But anyway, Riccardo Patrese, whose teammate Thierry Boutsen, who won last year, is already out, seems to be giving up in the Canadian Grand Prix.
And a new lap record for Ayrton Senna, 1:23.5, so well over a second faster than the old lap record from last year.
And it's Wojtek in front of the man. Pan dab. Piquet goes through. Piquet then, brilliant, ahead of Alain Prost. Hopefully we'll see a replay of that. Nelson Piquet moves up into a magnificent 2nd place in the Canadian Grand Prix. Down to 3rd goes Prost. Still 4th is Nigel Mansell. But now Piquet's got the traffic in front of him.
And this is Piquet passing Prost, and that was a very straightforward manoeuvre. He'd been lining up for that for some time. Prost left the door open.
But Piquet, Prost, Mansell, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Now watch Piquet tackle Wojtek, the Swiss, who very good manners a little while ago moved over. Is he going to do the same thing now? In front of Wojtek is Capelli. In front of Capelli is Griard.
Yes, well, I'd certainly expect Piquet to go away from Alain Prost by the way he was climbing all over him, but rather unfortunate when he finally does get through to meet such a wall of traffic ahead of him when he's dealt with Wojtek, and he'll be pleased that he managed to get through and Prost didn't, and Prost's far too old and wise to have headed for that wet patch to try and slip it inside Wojtek there. Mansell now. I bet you Mansell's going to have a go at Prost as they go into the hairpin. He is indeed, and Mansell is through into third place. So Prost loses 2 places in 2 laps, from second down to fourth. And Mansell now takes up the chase of Piquet. Well, he's quite used to the sight of the back of Piquet's car, but defending Ferrari's interests there.
And the race order now is on lap 51. Ayrton Senna still at 30 seconds ahead of the second place man, who now, of course, is Nelson Piquet in the Benetton. And third position Mansell, and fourth Alain Prost. There he is, ahead of Gerhard Berger, who is catching the 2 Ferraris. It's not inconceivable that Gerhard Berger could still do the usual thing for McLaren and get them home in first and second places. If so, it would have been a truly great drive. Now there is Gerhard Berger, and very soon it could be, he's only 6 seconds behind Nigel Mansell now, and Mansell, of course, is in third position behind Nelson Piquet. Hope you're not getting confused with all this, but the good news is that the track is getting drier and drier all the time. Lap record Ayrton Senna, 1 minute 23.56, which is 1.5 seconds faster than his own previous lap record in the McLaren. And Gerhard Berger, having committed a cardinal error at the start, is doing his very best to make up for it now. And that's Derek Warwick behind Alain Prost. And Derek Warwick, I remind you, is in 6th position. So Prost has got some sort of a problem, no doubt at all about it. But the question now, as we watch Alain Prost ahead of the Lotus Lamborghini of, in 6th position, Derek Warwick, who is followed by his teammate Martin Donnelly in 7th place, Modena in 8th position, Caffey in 9th place. The question, and we'll rejoin it soon, I'm sure, is Nigel Mansell going to be able to get right with Nelson Piquet? And if he does, can he get past him up into 2nd place? And there is a new fastest lap for Nigel Mansell, 1:22.8. Nigel, and that is 7/10 quicker than Ayrton Senna, so Mansell is really on his way.
Yes, it's 2 seconds quicker than last year's lap record, which is really something. Mansell absolutely flying.
And Martin Donnelly seems to be in trouble. He's going very, very slowly indeed. 8th position. Is he going to fail to finish as he did in Brazil and Monaco? And he didn't even start in Phoenix. Martin Donnelly touring there, or looking as though he was touring. I'll be able to let you know later. He's in 8th position, or was, and that's giving, of course, the opportunity, and he certainly, there's a fire at the back, and that's giving Stefano Modena the opportunity to move up a place into 8th position, with Martin Donnelly certainly out of the Canadian Grand Prix. And Mansell held up by Caffey and Nakajima, and of course Piquet's passed both of them, and Prost is now starting to close on Mansell because he was being held up by Nakajima, who he has gone past. Now you see again what James was talking about. That granulated look on the circuit is the marbles, that is rubber, little rubber balls that have worn off the tyres. Piquet, Caffey, and Mansell furiously shaking his fist at Caffey. Move over, let me through. And Caffey does it, and Mansell really gets on the loose stuff and almost gets it sideways.
Yes, and I'm afraid Mansell rather lost his rag there and very nearly put it into the barrier. He was shaking his fist in what I'd call an over-agitated way at Alex Caffey, and then when he did go past him, once more, same place, he put a wheel on the dirt, got very crossed up, but I think he's probably got an overdose of adrenaline pumping around at the moment, and that certainly would have equipped him well to catch it. Their reactions really razor sharp. But it certainly hurt. Caffey has really put back his challenge on 2nd place to Nelson Piquet. That traffic has hurt Mansell. And Piquet has been able to show them a clean pair of heels.
Now Mansell's got the problem with Briard. He's passed him now, and Prost has got the problem. But race order on lap 65, with Ayrton Senna, of course, continuing to lead. And it's Piquet still in second place. Ahead, well ahead now, in comparative terms, of the two Ferraris. And Prost is right up with Mansell. You saw the second car go through. Piquet. Berger is still in 5th position. Derek Warwick is still in 6th place. Martin Donnelly is out of the race. 7th is Stefano Modena. 8th is Alex Caffey, which is obviously why he was reluctant to move over.
And fast and furious it is for everybody except Senna for the cars in the top 6, because whilst Berger is some halfway round the circuit away from this battle, he's actually in it because of this 60-second penalty. He leads the race on the road, remember. But whilst he has been chasing Prost to try and get in amongst this group, he's put up a new lap record, faster than Mansell's lap record. It's now down to 1:22.6, but he is actually losing ground on the road to Prost, and that can only be because he's having more trouble with the traffic, because Berger is lapping a little bit quicker, but the delays in the traffic have hurt him. So it's a little bit yo-yo, the Berger situation, because he's got back markers over the other side of the circuit. These people have had a lot of trouble with back markers, particularly Mansell with that group just now. And so the Berger chase is all changing lap by lap.
Are you still with us? I think Evans James is with us to explain it all. The Berger's on one side of the circuit, but still right up with the battle between Nigel Mansell in 3rd place, Alain Prost in 4th position. There is the 2nd place man, number 20, Nelson Piquet, going through, and he is now on his 67th lap in this 70-lap race, and he's coming up to lap Stefano Modena, who is in 7th position. So the 2nd man lapping the 7th man, and the race order is still Senna leading, Piquet 2nd, in 3rd position Mansell, 4th is Prost, 5th is Berger, 6th and lapped, of course, is Derek Warwick. 7th is number 8 in the blue and white, Brabham, ahead of Nelson Piquet here. Stefano Modena in 8th position. In the arrows is Alex Caffey. Down to the danger corner. And, of course, Modena is holding Piquet up here, no doubt about that. Modena with V8 Judd power. Piquet with V8 Ford power, and Nelson needs to get past. He goes past on the outside. Modena waves his hand to indicate to Nelson Piquet that he should pass on the right, and you look straight down the exhaust pipes and see that fiery red flame of Nelson Piquet's Ford V8 engine spent gases, and Piquet really flying now. He has only got 2 laps to go after the one that he is on. He's going to get 6 points if he stays there, and it's a long, long time since Nelson Piquet finished as well up as that. He's actually had 19 second places before in his career, most of which, of course, were either with Brabham or Williams. Those were his glory years, because his time with Lotus was not good.
Sorry, mate, but I'm sure that fiery red flame was the rear light. I think so, yes. Yes, I think the exhaust was behaving normally, and it was just his rear light, which, of course, for the wet race was on, but it's dried out.
Thank you, James. We'll let you know. My apologies, everybody. The old adrenaline's getting on top of me. And no wonder, because look at Modena now, with Mansell behind him, which is giving Prost the opportunity to close up. So Mansell in 3rd position. We see Modena now, and we don't see any rear light or fiery gases or anything from Nigel Mansell's V12 Ferrari engine as he pulls rapidly away from the Brabham Judd. And Nelson Senna now is coming through to complete his 68th lap and start his last but one.
Well, a little piece of professionalism that by Mansell, if he did it deliberately, because it appears he switched his rear light off. And the trouble that the Ferrari have had this season with the alternation with the electrics, I would have thought that's very professional driving, to have it switched off and not load their rather suspect electrical system any more than is absolutely necessary once the wet weather's gone. Prost, I notice his is still on, but it would be taking professionalism to quite heavy limits that, to think of that. Prost may not have thought of it. And Berger has now closed up still knocking this lap record down. Another new lap record for Berger. 1 minute 22, very easy one, 0.222. And he's now only a second behind Alan Prost. So Berger still in 5th place, but threatening.
What a pity they aren't all together from our visual point of view. But here is the potential, virtually certain winner, Ayrton Senna, coming through to start his 70th and last lap of the Canadian Grand Prix, having won in 1988, having failed to win last year only because his Honda engine let go at the critical moment in the closing stages of the race. Senna at Monaco, the previous Grand Prix, led from the green light until the checkered flag, and he is going to have had a similarly commanding race here in Canada. He's on his last lap now. There is Roland Brunschreider in the inset, the man who starts the races, the clerk of the course, the Belgian, and Senna has driven a copybook race.
Yes, a very straightforward win for Ayrton Senna once Berger had put himself out of the action by jumping the start. Berger, of course, remember, still leads Senna on the road, but of course Senna has had no reason to chase him. And I thought Senna certainly, let's say he changed his tyres conservatively in letting the road dry a bit more than necessary, and probably not the quickest way, but nobody else apart from Berger, who that got in the lead and got him away from Senna. He changed even him a little bit late, but earlier than Senna, and that gave him the advantage. And then it was all plain sailing for Senna. Berger, meanwhile, has battled away, but the big battle has been for 2nd place. At the moment, Piquet holds it, and looks like doing so, the 2 Ferraris, but can Berger catch him on the road? And of course, this we can never see until we work it out from the results on the stopwatch.
Well, Ayrton Senna approaches the finishing line to win his 23rd Grand Prix. There is the official holding out that checkered flag. Senna is almost within sight of it now. He's down through the Olympic rowing strip, through the S-bend, and he's well ahead, and Ayrton Senna goes over the line to win his 23rd Grand Prix in the McLaren Honda here at Canada. But who is going to be second? Who is going to be third? Who is going to be fourth? And there is Gerhard Berger, and we've got to work it out on the clocks before we know where he is. So Ayrton Senna has won the Canadian Grand Prix, no doubt about that, and we've already seen Gerhard Berger finish ahead of Senna on the road. But the question is, where is Senna in the race? And here it is. Here is the news. Gerhard Berger has moved up into 4th position, 3/100ths of a second ahead of Alain Prost. What an amazing finish.
I think conditions were difficult for everybody. Slippery with the wets, and then with the slicks, still with the circuit quite slippery, very difficult to judge your pace, your braking points. Of course, to overtake slow cars, as soon as you go a little bit offline, the tires would just lose completely the grip. I had a 1st gear broken on my pit stop, so from there on, from quite early in the race on, I had no 1st gear, and I was very concerned more than anything that this 1st gear would compromise the gearbox later in the race, the other gears, but fortunately the car went to the finish line altogether.
The trouble was, as soon as you go offline to overtake, it can take maybe 1 lap or even a lap and a half before you get good grip back. And a few drivers were very good, they moved offline, but a few other drivers, they just stayed right on the line and forced you offline, and it spoilt the race at the end a little bit.
Ayrton Senna's 23rd Grand Prix victory here in Canada, with Nelson Piquet in 2nd place, Nigel Mansell 3rd, and Gerhard Berger 4th, in spite of that 60-second penalty at the start. 3/100ths of a second ahead of Alain Prost in 5th position, with Derek Warwick in 6th place. And in the Drivers' Championship, Ayrton Senna is now 12 points ahead of Gerhard Berger, with Alain Prost in 3rd place, Jean Alesi 4th, Nelson Piquet in 5th position, and a tie for 6th between Riccardo Patrese and Thierry Boutsen. McLaren now lead the Constructors' Championship by 29 points, but it's a new 2nd place constructor, Ferrari, who have moved ahead of Williams, with Benetton in 4th place and Tyrrell 5th. And in 2 weeks' time, it is the Mexican Grand Prix. Join us.
won for Benetton in 1986, and today he starts his McLaren from pole position ahead of Ayrton Senna. And we've got a bonus. Cameras on Berger's McLaren Honda and Senna's. At last, Gerhard's car almost fits him, and the extra comfort and mental well-being's made a big difference to the amiable Austrian. Riccardo Patrese next on the grid. The evergreen Italian took his Williams Renault to a well-deserved victory at Imola, and with a qualifying lap only 1/5 of a second slower than Berger, he could win again today. After 4 successive pole positions, Mexico qualifying's been disheartening for World Championship leader Ayrton Senna. He's only 3rd on the grid. But Senna won here last year, and this is his 100th Grand Prix, so he'll be even more determined to get win number 24. But here's another Mexico winner, Nigel Mansell, first in 1987. And Nigel's got it all together in his Ferrari, because he's alongside Senna on the grid and virtually matching his time. But Mansell's teammate, Alain Prost, is in deep trouble, 13th on the grid. After only 5 races, Senna leads the championship by 12 points, carrying the emotive number 27.
For the first time, the number 27 can have the award title. It's a long way to go. It's going to be tough, but the possibility is there, and we have to work hard and concentrate and try it.
Such is his lead that even if Senna failed to finish today, he'd still head the championship. But then it's close, with only 7 points separating Berger in 2nd place and Piquet 5th. There's a lot of problems for cars and drivers in Mexico. The 2.7-mile circuit is bumpy and very high. Jonathan Palmer.
Being 7,000 feet above sea level makes the Mexico circuit quite different from the rest of the Grand Prix calendar with regard to the way the cars perform. The fundamental difference, of course, is that the air is around 25% thinner, which affects the engines, the aerodynamics, and even the drivers. It may seem odd to talk of a Formula One car feeling gutless and slow, but that's just what they feel like to the drivers in Mexico. The power an engine develops is proportional to the amount of oxygen it can burn. So with 25% less oxygen, the Formula One engines produce 25% less power. Despite this power reduction, the top speed at Mexico is as high as anywhere. Although power is down, so is aerodynamic drag, and the cars can carve through the thinner air with less wind resistance. If the speeds are up on the straights, they certainly aren't on the corners. Now the thinner air is a disadvantage, for the downforce the front and rear wings can produce is reduced, as there is less mass of air pressing on them. Just to compound the grip problem, the unstable ground of Mexico City causes the track surface to be bumpier than any. Spare a thought for the drivers too. Like any athlete competing at high altitudes, he'll be breathing hard in response to the lack of oxygen for his lungs, and without the opportunity to acclimatise for a few weeks beforehand, he'll certainly appreciate the rest as he flies down the main straight at 195 miles per hour.
So, for the 2nd time this year, Gerhard Berger in pole position on the right-hand side of the grid. Alongside him, Riccardo Patrese. Then 3rd and 4th, Senna and Mansell. In 5th and 6th positions is Thierry Boutsen and Jean Alesi. And then Martini and Piquet, followed by Nakajima and Modena. Derek Warwick and Martin Donnelly in the 2 Lotus cars are 11th and 12th. Well, it's a 69-lap race. Any second now, it'll be away. And away they go, and it's a beautiful start by Riccardo Patrese. Patrese leads away into the first corner, the right-hander which leads into the sea, and then behind him it's Berger. Senna in 3rd position, and now this is Michele Alboretto's car at about halfway down the grid. The Michele Alboretto Arrows, and there's one of the Dallaras in front of him, and that's Prost on the left. Prost started 13th on the grid, so he's got an enormous amount of work to do if he's to get up towards the front of the Mexican Grand Prix. But meantime, up at the front, Riccardo Patrese has got away to an absolutely superb flyer. We're still with Alboretto. I wouldn't mind having a look at what's happening at the front of this race, but I can tell you that it's still at the present moment Patrese, and Senna is starting to challenge. Senna is coming up through the field now. There is Patrese and the 2 McLarens. It's still in 2nd place Berger, but Senna is right on his tail. We're with Alboretto again in midfield and waiting now for them to come through at the end of the first lap.
and Senna will be using all his racecraft and the very considerable power of his Honda V6 engine behind him as Alboreto, you can see how slow the Arrows is going.
Yes, Alboreto giving us a view of the back of the field and getting more and more distant as we go. Unfortunately, we'd quite like to know what's going on up front. And now, into the last turn to complete the first lap goes Alboreto. And here we get a look at the leaders, and Senna is right out on the right, and Senna somehow has got past Berger. He's got a good draft past Patrese, and Senna is taking the lead with Berger trying to follow him through and succeeding. So the McLarens go, surprise, surprise, into first and second. Patrese third with his Williams teammate Boutsen behind him.
Yes, Thierry Boutsen in fourth position, and there's Nelson Piquet in fifth position. So it's two McLarens, then the two Williams Renaults, and you can see how tightly bunched they are. Nelson Piquet, who's really rejuvenated this year, 1990, in the Benetton in fifth position, and therefore the leading V8-powered driver. So it's Senna, Berger, Patrese, Boutsen, and Alesi is in sixth position in the Tyrrell behind Nelson Piquet. In seventh position it's Nigel Mansell, who started fourth on the grid. So Mansell, you can see the Scarlet Ferrari leading Derek Warwick in the Lotus. Nigel Mansell had a very poor start. That was Martini behind Derek Warwick, and behind Martini is Martin Donnelly. It's tightly packed. There's a series of 10 corners here, but it's Senna, Berger, Boutsen is challenging. He's past Piquet. They're together now, and Nannini coming up through the field. And as I was saying, there's a series of 10 corners, and we're riding with Gerhard Berger now, and that is Senna in front.
So we're watching them close up as they come on the brakes at the end of this long, long straight through the thin air of Mexico City, but of course that doesn't help their top speed particularly, because the engines are also suffering from breathlessness. We see Mansell now. Mansell with a clear road in front of him. He made a poor start from the front row. He practiced his start as they went away from the dummy grid and laid 30 yards of twin black stripes down, and we surmised that that was probably to give him more grip as he was over on the right-hand side, which is not on the racing line and therefore dusty. But whatever his intentions, if that was the case, it didn't work, and he made a poor start by his standards. Prost has been moving through the field because, of course, coming from 13th on the grid, you see Prost behind Alesi.
And there is Riccardo Patrese, who finished in second place here last year, and he had a marvellous season in 1989 and won at San Marino this year, of course. Race order then on the 11th lap now: Senna, Berger, Piquet, Boutsen, Patrese, Mansell, and the gap between Senna and Berger, who is in second place, as you see, is just 5.6 seconds. Thierry Boutsen there in fourth position. Nelson Piquet keeping up the pressure. He's got Berger's car, and that is Nakajima on the left and Suzuki on the right. So the two Japanese drivers in the Mexican Grand Prix are now out of the Mexican Grand Prix. The Tyrrell of Satoru Nakajima, and Suzuki's being pushed, and of course if you get a push start you are out of the race immediately. He knows that, so he retires, and incidentally that's why the unfortunate Roberto Moreno didn't get to start. And you can see now Nigel Mansell, it looks as though the Ferraris have got their reliability problem licked. Mansell ahead of Patrese, and this is lap 20, and the race order then is Senna leading, Piquet in second place, Boutsen is third, and Mansell is really going well.
Yes, and we got Prost climbing all over the back of Patrase's car, trying to follow his teammate through. Prost has come up through the field pretty well, and in fact after their sort of rather up and down practice performance, although Mansell qualified pretty well, Prost struggled. The Ferraris seem to have got their race set up, quite well organised. Prost from his low position coming through the field, but of course meanwhile the McLaren's out front stretching the lead, Senna still going away from the rest of the field.
And now, as you see, the Ferrari pull out and lap the Ligier with Riccardo Patrese. That's Nigel Mansell there in fourth position, and the race order is Ayrton Senna leading now by 16 seconds ahead of Nelson Piquet who has got Thierry Boutsen behind him in third position. Then there's terrific scrap between Mansell, who has pulled clear of Patrese, who is followed by Prost, and Prost challenging and being forced back, but Prost is not going to be denied that place.
Yes, he's a hard man to pass, Patrese. Doesn't make it easy. Prost had a look, but Patrese was pretty firm there, the way he shut the door. And one of the problems is that the Williams Renault is particularly fast on the straights. The Renault have really got things together with their engine. It would appear to be the most powerful engine in Grand Prix racing at the moment. They seem to be quicker on the straights than the Honda engine McLarens, even running a lot of wing. Now, Prost is absolutely perfectly placed to be in the tow for the main straight. This is his one chance, but he has to get it absolutely right behind the Williams. Okay. And Prost ducking out. They're past the back marker only.
Yes, so Alain Prost is still stuck behind Riccardo Patrese, and it is as they come out of the corner. Now there is Boutsen, who's got Mansell right up behind him. And so now Senna still leading by now 17 seconds. He's got a comfortable cushion at the front. He's not at all worried. And Nelson Piquet still in that second position. There is Mansell, who is closing up all the time on the Benetton in front of him. In fact, the story of this race at the moment, apart from Senna, is how extremely well the Ferraris are going, because you can see Mansell now is gaining. There's Boutsen, there is Mansell. So it is Senna, and then Piquet, and then Boutsen in third position, then Mansell in fourth place, then Patrese, and you see him now being chased by Prost in sixth position, who's got Nannini right behind him, and Nannini's just ahead of Alesi.
Yes, Patrese's been holding Prost up, and that's given Nannini the chance to close up, and Prost, the pressure is now on Prost to do something. And Prost has... And that's Mansell. Mansell going past now. Boutsen covered the inside line, and Mansell just simply drove round the outside of him. Tremendous stuff from Nigel Mansell.
And that is lap 25. Nigel Mansell then up into third position in the Mexican Grand Prix and pulling away from Thierry Boutsen. It's still Senna leading by 17 seconds. Piquet is in second position. You've just seen Mansell pass Boutsen up into third. It's Prost in fifth position, but Prost in the Ferrari, look back, is gaining on Boutsen. And so then in sixth position is Riccardo Patrese. And there is Nigel Mansell, number 2 Ferrari. Well, if the Ferraris can keep up their reliability, they're going to be a challenge, because it looks to me as though Nigel Mansell is starting to wear down Nelson Piquet, and that is Nannini, Alessandro Nannini, in 7th position, behind Prost, who is behind Patrese. So we've got 5th, 6th and 7th virtually together coming out of the Peralta. There is Nigel Mansell, Boutsen behind him, and of course now they've just passed and lapped Olivier Grouillard as Boutsen nips out of the Frenchman's slipstream, and through past Patrese goes Prost.
Yes, Prost looking down the inside there. Prost made it through. Patrese now coming under pressure from Nannini.
So on lap 31, Ayrton Senna 15 seconds ahead. He's maintaining his cushion. But in second place, Nelson Piquet is definitely being caught by Nigel Mansell. And in fourth position now, it's Alain Prost. Fifth is Thierry Boutsen. Sixth is Patrese. And 7th is Nannini, and there is the battle between, in 6th and 7th places, number 6, Riccardo Patrese, and number 19, Alessandro Nannini, the man who won the Japanese Grand Prix last year. And Nannini in the World Championship at the present moment is in 9th place with just 4 points. He's going to get a few more than that today to add to his score. And so, Mansell, Boutsen, Patrese, Nannini going through. Is he on the inside? Yes, they've cleared the Peralta, down the fast straight and up into 6th position then goes Alessandro Nannini as we ride with Gerhard Berger, who is chasing Jean Alesi. Now, Berger went into the pits. He had a tyre change. He dropped well down the field. And now Berger is up into 9th position. And that is the Tyrrell Ford V8 ahead of him. And this is the Peralta. This is 180 degrees, this corner, and believe it or not, they go round it at about 165 miles an hour. And this morning, Mansell was told he was putting 4.7 G around there, and Alain Prost looked across and he said, I was pulling 5 G round there, and Berger goes past Alesi. So Gerhard Berger moves up a place, but it is still Senna. And Piquet is now being caught by Nigel Mansell. This is the battle for 2nd place here in Mexico. And Nigel Mansell, who has come up from 4th on the grid, he slipped out to 7th on the first lap. He's fought his way back. He's challenging Nelson Piquet now. The Benetton V8 leading the Ferrari V12, and in the background, and Mansell dives through. Is this 2nd place? Yes, it is. Nigel Mansell up into 2nd place on lap 37.
Yes, and fine driving there, the way he sold him the dummy. He moved to the left of Piquet, got Piquet starting to cover that, and then dived under him on the inside into the corner. So Mansell, I would expect to start pulling away now from Piquet. But he'll have to watch for Prost, because Prost is the man trying to make the charge behind him.
Yes, at the present moment it's still Senna, now nearly 18 seconds ahead of Nigel Mansell, and into the pits comes Riccardo Patrese. Riccardo Patrese into the pits. And so now, coming towards the end of the race, you can see there is Ayrton Senna, and right behind him is Alain Prost.
Jumping live to the race now, and Prost has caught Senna. He's been catching himself. This Senna appears to be in some sort of tyre trouble and struggling a bit, but can Prost pass him?
Just look at this. This is a 69-lap race. This is lap 60. Ayrton Senna leads. Right behind him is the reigning world champion, Alain Prost, who has already won for Ferrari. And Nigel Mansell is in 3rd position. In 4th place, it is Nannini. Up to 5th has come Berger after a sterling drive. 6th is Boutsen. 7th is Alesi. And down to 8th position has gone Piquet. But what a fight for victory. Prost is really pushing Senna.
Yes, it's been a fantastic day for Ferrari. They struggled in qualifying, particularly Prost. 13th on the grid he started. He was patient as usual. Prost now pressing, but he'll have to let Senna go through the quick one first. You can't pass into that. Now, let's have a look at the straight line speed of the Ferrari compared with the McLaren. Mansell right there now, because Senna is, if anything, holding Prost up. Prost had passed and pulled away a little bit from Mansell, and look at this. Now, Prost is going to be very keen. Prost diving inside. Senna, I'm sure, is in tyre trouble. And Alain Prost goes through on board with Ayrton Senna now. But Senna definitely struggling for grip. Prost will be happy to have him protecting Mansell, but he will want Mansell to pass for 2nd place, because he'll want that the extra 2 points taken away from Senna.
This is terrific. This is the first time that Ayrton Senna has been passed fair and square, except by Alesi at Phoenix. And there's a problem there. We just saw a flash of it. Marshall jumping up and down. But on lap 61 in this 69-lap race, Alain Prost, who won in Brazil, has passed Ayrton Senna, and I think, as James has said, that Senna has got a tyre problem, and that means to say that Mansell can probably take him as they come out of the Peralta and into the fast section down towards the series of 10 bends. And if Ferrari finish 1st and 2nd in this race, that is going to really give Grand Prix racing the fillip it needs.
Yes, and I think the problem you saw on the infield there, Murray, was only a Ferrari fan. I think one of the marshals might have been a Ferrari fan, because that was just seeing Prost in the lead. Now, Mansell. He's in the tow. They seem quite evenly matched in the straight, but of course Mansell has the advantage of the hole in the air, and ducking out, and for sure Senna really can't respond. He's quite clearly struggling for grip, and switching to the onboard camera in Senna's car, and just watch Mansell power away from him there. So, and that will make Alain Prost very happy indeed, because this is now a matter of points for the Drivers' World Championship, and if they finish as they are, Prost will pick up some 5 points on Ayrton Senna's lead in the championship, so long as Mansell provides the buffer between them.
Well, this is certainly not Brazil's day. Out of the World Cup, and now Ayrton Senna down to third place, passed fairly, squarely, no argument, no contention. In fact, you probably saw Senna, who's dropping right back now, wave his hand to Nigel Mansell out of the right side of his cockpit to say, pass me on the right. He's given up. He's driving for a finish now, and the race order on lap 62 in this 69-lap race, Prost leads, Mansell second, Senna is in third place, Nannini is in fourth position, in fifth position it's Boutsen, in sixth place it is Alesi, and in seventh place it's Nelson Piquet.
Yes, and one person who won't be content for second place is Nigel Mansell, of course, and I doubt very much whether the Ferraris have any orders, and I'm quite sure that he will be chasing Prost for all he's worth. But to be fair, Prost has caught and passed him as they were both racing hard on the road, and they were chasing Senna. And I think Prost has been consistently faster, although only marginally, than Mansell from behind when they were clear on traffic, and I think Prost seems to be just have that little edge. But believe me, Mansell will not have given up, because I'm quite sure he'd like 9 points just as much as Alain Prost would.
Yes, this is very important for both of them, especially as arrangements for the 1991 season are now being made. But you're watching the quite incredible Alain Prost, 3 times a world champion. He has scored more world championship points in a season than anybody else. He scored more world championship points in total than anybody else. And he has already won 40 Grand Prix, and that is a record too. Well, we're seeing a change of scenery here in Mexico. Ferrari always said in the season that when they got to the faster circuits, and that means France coming up, and of course Silverstone, which is just 2 Grand Prix from now, that they would start to close the gap between themselves and McLaren. They are certainly proving that here, 7,000 feet up in Mexico, and who is that off? That's Nigel Mansell spun off. But he's certainly lost his second position to Ayrton Senna, but he regains the circuit. Fortunately, he hasn't touched the wall, but he'll be down to third position. Alain Prost leads, Senna in second place, Nigel Mansell in third position. Fourth now is Berger. In fifth position, it's Nannini. In sixth place, it is Boutsen, followed by seventh, Alesi, and in eighth position, it's Nelson Piquet. And that's a McLaren with a tyre problem, and it's Senna. Senna is out of the Mexican Grand Prix, and this is lap 64.
Yes, and I think the tyres have just started to wear out, because when we saw Mansell pull away from that spin, I didn't like the look of Mansell's right rear tyre either, and it's the right rear that's got on Senna's car. I was just about to try and get the mic to say that it looked a bit blistered on Mansell's car. So it looks as if survival of the tyres just to do the distance looks very marginal to me. Well, in fact, it didn't make it in Senna's case, but that means that both Prost and Mansell are going to have to be careful. Now, there is Mansell, he's recovered from his spin, got going again, and that was Berger just coming into the picture behind him. Berger just coming onto the straight now. Now, if Mansell's in tyre trouble, Berger had a stop earlier, had a fresh set of tyres on sometime between lap 10 and 20, therefore he should not be under threat of his tyres wearing out. And also should have a good bit more rubber left on them than either of the two Ferraris.
This is lap 65, 69-lap race order. Alain Prost is leading Nigel Mansell as Senna limps back to the pits. He's determined to get in and try to get a new wheel and tyre, but really he is history now, because third is Senna's teammate Gerhard Berger. 4th is Nannini. 5th is Boutsen. 6th is Alesi. John Alesi in the Tyrrell V8 is in 6th position and in the points yet again. Another brilliant drive by the Frenchman on a circuit which the Tyrrell does not suit particularly well. A lot of speed is required and real power, and of course the Tyrrell has got less of both than the McLarens and the Ferraris ahead of him. But now, with just 4 laps to go after this one, as that caption confirms, Alain Prost looks as though he is on his way to his 2nd Grand Prix victory for Ferrari. He won in Brazil ahead of Berger and Senna. Senna is out of the race, and the race order now is Prost, Mansell, Berger, Nannini in 5th place, Boutsen in 6th place, Alesi in 7th place, Piquet, who was of course 2nd for a long time. In 8th position it is Martin Donnelly. In 9th place it's Patrese, and into the pits comes Senna.
Yes, now it's not easy to get the jack under the car, of course, so it can be a problem when the car's sitting down a bit with a flat tyre. And the other thing is that big piece of rubber around the rear suspension flails away and can very easily damage the rear suspension. So Senna's getting out. He's reckons he's out of the points and had enough, and certainly he lost an awful lot of time limping round. So back with Alain Prost, now leading very comfortably. Mansell gave him some space. Senna dropped out. So Prost really just cruising to the line, doesn't have to push too hard now. And 3 laps to go. He will be fully aware of the situation. The Mansell dropping back, Senna out of the race where he would have seen Senna limping round. And of course, the pits can inform him on their radio. Now, Berger having a go at Mansell. Oi! Ooh, and that certainly was asking for an accident.
And that has taken Gerhard Berger up to 2nd place, and I bet there's going to be some discussion in the pit lane afterwards. Gerhard Berger rocketed up to Nigel Mansell with everything locked solid and literally pushed his way through into 2nd place. Prost leads on lap 67. They're coming up to the end of it now, just 2 laps to go at the end of this one. There's no way that I can see that Berger can catch Prost and do to him what he's just done to Mansell, but it looks as though Ferraris are going to be 1st and 3rd rather than 1st and 2nd, and I don't suppose they'll be too unhappy with that. Terrific achievement, but Gerhard Berger has come back after his pit stop from 11th place, and this certainly proves that the problems that Gerhard Berger had with fitting himself into the McLaren have been overcome, and it certainly indicates this picture that Nigel Mansell is not giving up. As usual, Nigel Mansell is fighting back. Probably the grittiest man in Grand Prix. There is Prost leading. He is on lap 68 now out of 69. And watch Mansell, because he's coming up to try and retake that 2nd place from Berger.
Tremendous fighting by Mansell. Berger's got the inside line. He's got the corner this time. And Berger arrived on the previous lap with everything locked up, but completely committed. Berger going a bit wide, and Mansell has pressured Berger into that mistake, but still Berger has the inside for the next corner. Mansell really climbing all over him. Tremendous fight for 2nd place, so this is really something, because Mansell, I think, is on pretty tired tyres, more tired than rubber that Berger has, because Mansell's did Berger got a fresh set after 10 or more laps, and of course that's a big advantage because the car's at its heaviest for those early laps. But Mansell still fighting on.
And this is Berger. Are we going to suddenly see the Nigel Mansell Ferrari come alongside us as we ride with Gerhard Berger on the last lap of the Mexican Grand Prix, with Alain Prost seemingly going to win it, and Mansell going round the outside. Incredible! Up into 2nd place. He's regained that 2nd place, and now he's fairly rocketing away from Berger on the last lap in Mexico.
Absolutely brilliant manoeuvre by Mansell, fantastically brave, but he did it because you go high into that corner, and if you get on the outside where it's a bit slippery, but marvellous stuff by Mansell, but it's not over yet. Berger's a great fighter too. But I would suggest to Mansell, keep it calm now. If you don't make a mistake, you've got him. And certainly Berger did not handle the pressure. Mansell gave him so much pressure at the start of that lap and harried him all the way round that basically I feel he panicked Berger into leaving room there. And that was tremendous driving by Mansell. Really good aggressive stuff.
Yes, and remember Mansell and Berger at Imola. Mansell wasn't at all pleased with the Austrian there when Berger made him spin, and here is Alain Prost, the world champion, winning in Mexico. Alain Prost wins for Ferrari, and it looks as though Mansell is going to be second.
Yes, tremendous drive by Alain Prost, typical of the man, fighting all the way, and here we are. Here's Berger chasing Mansell. Now, the view from Berger's cockpit, the very last lap, and Mansell's got a car in front, but he's led him through. Tremendous stuff, and Mansell holds on. The finish line is too soon, crosses the line. Great race by Prost, very typical, got his car set up right, drove very methodically through the field, and then fabulous stuff from Mansell and Berger just to liven us up over the last laps.
Well, let's remember that Alain Prost started from 13th on the grid, and he's come from 13th to 1st in one of the most exciting and dramatic Grand Prix we've seen for a long time. It's really woken the Grand Prix scene up, so it's victory for Ferrari in the form of Alain Prost. And there is the 3 times world champion, who now, according to my rough mental arithmetic, moves up into second place in the World Championship. Then in second place it is Nigel Mansell. In third position, as you saw, almost second, Gerhard Berger. Alessandro Nannini gets points for Benetton, as does Nelson Piquet, because both the Benettons have finished in the top 6 places, sandwiching Thierry Boutsen in 5th place. So again, victory in Mexico to Alain Prost Ferrari. Ferrari second, Nigel Mansell. McLaren third, Gerhard Berger. Benetton fourth, Alessandro Nannini. Williams Renault fifth, Thierry Boutsen. In 6th place, Nelson Piquet, completing the point scorers. In 7th place was Jean Alesi. In 8th position is Martin Donnelly, and that's an excellent finish for him. In 9th position, Riccardo Patrese, and in 10th place and lapped Derek Warwick, so both the Lotuses have finished. But as I said earlier on, Mexico has been a turning point, I'm sure. There's Steve Nichols in the grey hair, and incidentally there are rumours here that Enrico Scalabroni, the Ferrari designer, is going to have to leave to make way for Steve Nichols to design the 1991 Ferrari. Anyway, wonderful race for Ferrari, first and second, and there is Alain Prost touring into the pits. Not a bad race for Williams, but not nearly good enough. Not nearly as good a race as McLaren would have liked, but Mexico has shown us that the McLarens can be beaten, that Senna can be beaten. And so now, with still a good number of Grand Prix left, we're not yet even up to the halfway point in the season. The next Grand Prix is at the Paul Ricard circuit in France, and of course Grand Prix is going to be there, and of course we trust that you are going to be there to watch the Grand Prix in France with us.
Well, you see, there's a ghost in this opera house.
For I am blackness itself, aren't I? You have the most astonishing voice. Please don't be afraid.
He calls himself the Phantom of the Opera.
Charles Dance is The Phantom, Sunday at 8:35 on BBC One.
I don't believe in ghosts.
Back to tonight, and in 25 minutes, Tony Lewis and Richie Benno introduce highlights of today's play in the semi-final matches of the NatWest Trophy. First on one, highlights of the day's most exciting events in the Weltklasse Athletics in Zurich.
Good evening. In the next 25 minutes, we'll attempt to pack in the highlights of tonight's Weltklasse Grand Prix in Zurich. Brendan Foster is with us. The world's best athletes in action, and we begin what was a remarkable night with the women's 200 metres. The commentator is David Coleman.
Merlin Otti, #1 in the world this year in the 200 metres, lining up against the 7 best 200-metre runners in the world on rankings at the moment. It's Catherine Crabb, the world #2 this year, only 20 from East Germany. And Otti got a good start, so did Grab, and right on the outside going well has done it Young. Off the bend, let's see who unwinds the best, and it's Otti. Struggling hard to hold the bend, but it's Otti out in front. Crab in second place at the moment. On the near side going well is Young. But Merlin Otti storms right away. Crab comes through second. A photo for third place between Malchagina, who may well have got it, and Silky Knoll. And the time, 21.67. 21.67, the fastest time in the world this year by a yard, a metre or so, well over a metre or so. 21.8 the previous best time, and against a headwind of 1 metre per second against. What a run that was, 21.67. These are the 8 fastest women in the world this year, and Otti proves herself the #1 beyond any dispute. Crab, the world #2 from East Germany, dropped away in the closing stages. Malchagina came through, and so did lane 2, Silky Knoll. But look at the winning margin. 21.67, that's the second fastest run in history. This time they go. Burrell not too well away. Christie was quite well away, and also going well as Emo and Kelvin Smith. And storming through now is Burrell. Burrell comes right through. Christie probably gets second, and a photograph for third between Emo and Witherspoon. Very, very close indeed for the places. Emo may well have got the third place, but Christie is coming back. The time 10.13. There's a headwind of nearly a metre a second against. But that was a good start by Christie, and Christie's coming to form at the time that matters. Look at him there. He was quickly off the blocks. Burrell alongside him loses, about half a yard in the first 30 metres, but comes back in brilliant form. He's unbeatable at the moment. These sprinters supreme. Christie, though, hangs in there, and having been caught, doesn't lose his form and starts to come back. Burrell driving for the line. Christie in second place. Imo coming through very fast indeed, and Witherspoon on the far side, Witherspoon. That's very close for second place, but my original impression was that Christie had got it. And that camera isn't quite on the line, that finish camera, but it is very, very close indeed. And whether he's second or third on the photograph, the message to the rest of the Europeans is that Christie's back. Burrell was not disconcerted by that rather sloppy start by his standards. And look how he keeps his form and drives. He's perfectly balanced. He's a powerhouse, but he moves so beautifully as well. Sanguma, one of Christie's main rivals in the European, is really struggling there in the background.
I think the important thing is that Burrell, well, he kept his nerve, he kept his cool, and he kept going, but he was pushed to that fast time by Linford Christie, and Linford Christie got ahead of Sanguma, the only other European in it. And it is a photograph. Chidi Imo from Nigeria, who's had one good win over Linford Christie this season, did finish very fast, but I thought that that was a good piece of running from Linford Christie to come back so strongly.
And it is. In fact, we've now got the unofficial flash. He did get second, as we thought in the first place. Burrell 10.13, Christie 10.20 into that headwind. Interesting to see them side by side there. And the fact is that as the season goes on, Christie is getting closer and closer to Burrell.
This time they get away. Pierce got a good start. Oh, on this side, Deese got away well. And Colin Jackson's trailing badly. Deese is leading. And out goes Nehemiah. Deese is leading at this side of the race. Coming through is Kingdom. Kingdom gets it. Deese is second. Jackson out of the medals. He really did have a bad start and never got with it. He was 6th or 7th in that. And Roger Kingdom had to climb a few hurdles and get back at the fast leader, Tony Deese, in lane 7. Watch Colin Jackson. He really had a bad start against Touré. It was a bad one. It's a slow race, and there was all sorts of trouble. Nehemiah clobbers a hurdle and goes out of it. And Tony Campbell in trouble too. Deese in black on this side is leading. Roger Kingdom all over the place, but getting ahead of Jack Pierce. Colin Jackson hits another hurdle and falls behind Touré of France. And now Kingdom comes again, and Deese fades at the line. Kingdom gets it at the line. Campbell is third behind Deese, and look at Colin Jackson. 7th or 8th was the best. Although there's only 2 meters in it, he will regard that as the poorest race he's run. Colin Jackson, really, there was a lot of flying timber, but there were in other lanes as well. And he really didn't have a great race tonight.
Just watch if the Frenchman catches his arm. There. I think it just knocked him slightly off balance.
Well, in fairness, the Frenchman Touré, who is much improved recently, was always ahead. And this is the man, as the hurdles go tumbling and Colin starts struggling, and he really is having bad trouble. He's not even climbing over them. And that was a bad race for Colin Jackson. He's got time to put it right. Nobody better to put it right. But that's the poorest we've seen Colin Jackson in action.
Very smooth start indeed. Harris has closed down on Matiti. Akabusi losing ground on Harris down the back straight, and Harris has closed the stagger entirely on the Zambian, who's in very good form indeed. Matiti, the world number 3. Graham also going well in lane number 3. But down the back straight, Akabusi's got a lot to do, but of course he can do it in the second half, and he's closing now. Harris storming away around that top bend with 3 hurdles to go. Harris leading, Akabusi closing all the time. Matiti's faded right really badly, and Akabusi staggered there off that hurdle. Also going well is David Patrick off the last hurdle. It's Harris who's too strong, and coming through very strongly is Matiti. Harris, Matiti, David Patrick, and in 4th place Akabusi. It was very, very close. There was a photograph there between Patrick and Akabusi, but the American fast finishing as Akabusi faded may just have shaded it. 47.88. So, the fastest man in the world, the only man to clock inside 48 seconds this season, does it again. It's just a question of who was third. This was a storming run by Akabusi. He really gave it all, and perhaps faded just off. Here he had trouble coming into the second last hurdle. Look at him searching for the stride, trying to meet it right, and he staggered slightly coming off it. Didn't come off running well. Harris driving on. And that was the one he had trouble at. I've just anticipated it too soon. So Harris with Akabusi in second place, but watch Matiti come through, and David Patrick as well in the all-black. Matiti in the red vest from Zambia gets second place. Harris wins, Matiti in second place. David Patrick did get third, and Akabusi in fourth place. But Stan Greenberg, our timekeeper, made it about 48.5 for Akabusi. If that's the case, it is a personal best, and he remains the top European. Sally Gunnell looking for something near her best. She's had a quiet season so far, but the Europeans getting closer and closer. Sandra Farmer-Patrick very quickly away. Very good on the flat. She's still a bit raw with her hurdling technique, but she's still the world #1. She's run right away from Proti, the Swiss girl, who's running inside her. Sally Gunnell going well down the back straight, maintaining a very good stride pattern. Also going well is Fiedler of East Germany in lane #1, now 31. Right on the outside, Shawanda Williams is a real target for Sandra Farmer-Patrick. And this is the difficult part for the girls. This is where they start to lose their rhythm. Sally Gunnell holding her form well, but she's got a lot of running to do. 1.52 they're concentrating on is Proti of Switzerland, who's come through tremendously quickly, and a great roar from the home crowd. And they've really got a surprise here. Proti comes tearing home, stutters into the last, and is going to beat the world #1. Proti of Switzerland comes home in front. Patrick Farmer's second place. In third place was Shawanda Williams, and Sally Gunnell in fourth place. And listen to the crowd. At last, 54.72, the winning time. She has run faster, but she's never beaten a better field. And at last, this vast Swiss crowd has a home victory to celebrate.
Away they go. Not a sound in the stadium. Now they roar. And Danny Everett's gone off very fast, and Butch Reynolds is after him. Roger Black cool and collected, but Valmont is moving well as well. And the middle 6 is where the race is taking place. Danny Everett going well in lane 7. Butch Reynolds chasing him. Reynolds got past him, and Alvin Daniel in lane 8 has got a big lead. There's Butch Reynolds in the middle. All eyes are on him. He's got past Danny Everett. Butch Reynolds, Alvin Daniel this side. Roger Black lost, but he's ahead of Clarence Daniel. In the middle, Butch Reynolds coming back at them. Hernandez on his inside. Hernandez is limping. Reynolds has got past him. Everett gets second. Valmont third. Hernandez fourth, but there's a photograph in that. And then came Roger back behind that, but Butch Reynolds clawed his way to the front. And that really was, the last 60 metres, there was all sorts of drama breaking out. And if Butch Reynolds is back to form, well, that is tremendous. 44-24, what a race it was. Butch Reynolds got past the world leader, Danny Everett, who's in blue. Butch Reynolds, of course, in black. Out on the outside, Alvin Daniel in this bright mauve and black. Now watch the battle Butch Reynolds has with Hernandez, and watch Hernandez in lane 4 get himself into trouble with about 20 metres to go with a bit of a muscle pull. Now watch in lane 4, Valmont in green, Reynolds just easing ahead. Look at him limping now, he's limping hard. Everett coming back at them. Butch Reynolds gets clear. Reynolds goes away. Everett, I said, was in second. I think that's confirmed. And then was it Valmont or Hernandez for third? And what a time, 44-24, the third fastest in the world this year.
Unofficial time for Roger Black, around 45 seconds. He might just have clipped that, though.
Stephen Backley in the javelin, who is in his final round now, has led from start to finish. He can't be beaten. He's got 85.04 to his credit. He's launched another nice long one. and that too is over 80 metres, but he was never threatened, even though Zalezny was there and Bowden was there. And in fact, Mick Hill came through in the 6th round to throw 82.30 and snatched second place from Bowden of Sweden, who was the former world record holder, who's done 89.10. You remember that Bowden snatched that world record. But Stephen Backley tonight, the 21-year-old, goes from victory to victory. Not a good win. There was no win that favoured the javelin, but Backley won it in the 1st round. He followed that up with 84.48 in the 2nd, and then he rested and had one more throw that he didn't like the look of, and he's just finished with 82.20 and dominated the competition. Stephen Backley giving Great Britain with Mick Hill a 1-2 in the javelin. .154 is Barbosa, and then we've got Quitzera. But 161, Nixon Kiprotich, who leads the pack at the moment, and they went through in 49.66. It's very fast indeed. Red Wine, the American. Kiprotich has got company, and the company is Jose Luis Barbosa, and then Quitzera. Kiprotich keeping Barbosa at bay, and Quitzera, and then the Americans coming up behind, and Tanui coming into the race. Barbosa with that cropped hair, following Kiprotich. Nixon Kiprotich goes in the lead. Barbosa follows him. Quitzera in 3rd, and then in black and pink, 165 is up there doing, that's William Tanui. Barbosa 154, pulls wide. Kiprotich can't hold it. Kiprotich still going, and coming wide is William Tanui. 165 coming to wide is Tanui. Tanui having the battle with Kiprotich. Kiprotich on the line. Tanui and then Abdenous. 144.64. And that was a tremendous run for the line. We thought it would be a Kenyan battle, and it certainly was, and Nixon Kiprotich it was who won it.
There was another battle going on in the background, and it was that reason that Tanui lost it. If you watched the race off the last bend, there was a real boxing match going on, and Tanui had to fight for room. 165 on the inside there. Barbosa fading. He comes out, looks for room, can't find it, looks again, chops across, and it's not shown on that picture, but athletes were ricocheting all over the track, and Tanui finally got clear of the scrum. It's clear at this stage, but look how far out he's been pushed. And the little Algerian too, Abdenous, suffered. He couldn't get a clear run at all.
And it's nice to see Nixon Kiprotich, who's been 2nds and 3rds and 4ths in the Grand Prix run, has been beaten by Tanui in the fast. Tanui coming to close that gap, but it's the 27-year-old Kenyan, Nixon Kiprotich, who just holds on to the line from Tanui, and then Reda Abdenous of Algeria, who was 2nd in Brussels, he tonight takes 3rd. 144.64 the time.
Sixth place, Jenkins of America. And Diane Edwards right at the back and improving as they go through the bell in 55.98, and that is very fast indeed. Still Leatherwood leading, but she's looking now for help and trying to get out of the race. And Vochtel takes, Vodes takes it on with Vochtel back in 3rd place, but Kira between the two East Germans. Jenkins is moving up into 4th inside the pacemaker, and Diane Edwards now goes up into 6th place just behind the Romanian Kovacs. 200 to go. It's still Vodes leading. Kirat waiting in 2nd place, and this is going to be very, very fast indeed. Vochtel in 3rd. Crooks closing up for Canada in 4th place. This is a tremendous run, and the East Germans ganging up on the Cuban, but is he going to work? And it doesn't look like it. But here comes the blonde hair of Vochtel on the outside, but Vodes holds it. Vodes, a brilliant run. Vochtel 2nd, Kirat 3rd, Jenkins 4, Crooks 5. In next place, 6th was Kovacs, and then Diane Edwards in 7th place. 157.20. Very, very fine race indeed. And Vodes, the girl who wins the big ones, but doesn't seem to bother in between, has got it right with a European Championship only days away. The world champion, the Olympic champion, beaten in 6 times in 7 races by her teammate Vogtel, has turned the tables in a major sort of way today. And what's more, she did it from the front. And when you add to that the fact that she beat Kirot and beaten now in 39 consecutive races, and in fact the last time she lost was when Vodes and Vogtel finished 1st and 2nd in the World Championship in '87 in Rome, finds that when it really matters, as they're approaching the big ones, the East Germans switch it on again. I mean, it looked as if it was all over at this stage for Kirot, but suddenly Vodes found a bit more. And look at Vogtel on the near side. She was flying, but suddenly Vodes showed why she's the world and the Olympic champion. Held on. East Germany 1, East Germany 2, Cuba 3. And in 4th place, Julie Jenkins of America. And we made Diane Edwards about a 1:59.
1:57.20 the time, and who said the East German athletic machine is coming apart at the seams? It's not, it's coming together as it always does on the eve of major championships. Perfect timing by the 2 East German athletes.
Just over 3 laps to go in this 5,000 metres. A very, very good race indeed. Ondieki of Kenya leading. Scar, the world cross-country champion from Morocco, in 2nd place. John Ngugi, the Olympic 5,000 metre champion, is 3rd. Castro of Portugal, 4. Then Gary Staines of Great Britain in 5th place. And right alongside him, Hamou Batayeb of Morocco, with the Olympic champion leading the chasing bunch. That's Brahim Batayeb, the Olympic 10,000 metre champion, but he's now some 30-40 metres behind this lead group. They're just outside of world record pace. 7:51.88 at 3,000 metres for the leader. Staines went through in 7:53, and he's having a very good race indeed. Chosen for Britain in the 5,000 metres, a member of the Belgrade club, and he'll be running for that club in the GRE Cup final on Sunday afternoon. Ondieki left out in front. He didn't want to be there, but Mutwal, the little steeplechaser who's made such an impact in his first European tour, just couldn't go along with the pace, was slowing him down, so Ondieki had to take on the workload himself. Coming around with 2 laps to go. And still Ondieki leading, Scar 2nd, Ngugi 3rd, Castro 4, Batayeb 5, Gary Staines 6.
And the early pacemaking was quite superb. It started with Alan Bunce on New Zealand, picked up by Mac Gierstu, and then it was always hoped that little Willie Mutwal would take it on from 3,000 metres, but he wasn't up to it. And in fact, Yobis Ondieki had to push him to one side because he was the man that really dropped the pace, and Ondieki has been out there in front, and Scar's been trailing him, and Ngugi coming something back to form has been in 3rd. And it was interesting the way that Gary Staines, fresh from a pretty good mile just a week ago, eased his way from the back of the pack to get with this forward pack, and now all these that little pack there is 50 metres clear of the rest of the field, with Boutayeb and Frank O'Mara, but Ondieki's there to be shot at the moment, and it's a pity that the pace dropped just at that crucial stage.
So he got 6 left and to battle it out on the last lap. That fast mile you talked about of Gary Staines last weekend was 3:53.8, so it was a fast one, and he's obviously full of confidence too. He goes into 3rd place. It's Ondieki leading, Scar 2nd. Staines could be boxed there as the bell goes. It's going to be fast, but way outside the world record, but nevertheless, what a race it's going to be. Still Ondieki leading, Scar 2nd, Staines 3rd, Ngugi 4, Castro 5, and Batayeb in 6th place. He's beginning to struggle now with less than 300 left. Down the back straight, it's Scar of Morocco, the world cross-country champion, taking on Ondieki, but the Kenyan's looking very fresh indeed. Ngugi struggling a little bit at the moment in 3rd place, but beginning to close. 200 metres left. Gary Staines is now out of touch, and the leading 3 are away from Castro and Staines. Ondieki and Scar left to battle it out now. The 2 are away from the other 4. And it's Ondieki going the short route on the curb, but Scar attacking on the outside. He's taken the ride behind Ondieki and sprints home in front to beat the Kenyan. Scar of Morocco takes the 5,000 metres. Ondieki 2nd, Ngugi 3rd, Castro 4, Staines 5, Hamou Batayeb 6, Brahim Batayeb, the Olympic 10,000 metre champion, in 7th place. 8th is Lalafi of Morocco. And these Moroccans really churning it out. But Scar, a good winner there. Gary Staines out-sprinted on the last lap, but I would suspect he's been rewarded with the fastest time he's ever run. Approximately 13 minutes, 15 seconds, which is way inside his previous best. Good run by him, good warm-up for the European, but Scar, very much the man in form.
Now, Brendan, the European Championships are almost upon us, and traditionally the 1,500 metres has been a great strength. With that in mind, perhaps we could look at how tonight's 1,500 metres finished, and you could just talk us through that.
Well, that's right, and in the race was our third string, Neil Horsfield, who's disappointing there. He's way back at the back of the field in about 8th place. Tony Morell on the inside there, but they're all gathering now for a big rush, and really the relevance is Jens Peter Herold, who's the man who finished silver medalist in the 88 Olympics. He was ahead of, he was bronze medalist in the Olympics. He was ahead of Cram, and he was just behind Peter Elliott. So it's Peter Elliott and Cram, and they're sitting at home watching this. I hope they're not still watching it this time of night, but they should be taking interest here, because I'm impressed with him tonight. Cram's going to split to defend his title, and Peter Elliott, well, we're going to have to see something from him in the next few days. But this is as good as I've seen Herold going into a major championship. Morcelli's impressive and running very strongly and pulling away, but Herold, you know, he's going to be the man to beat. I think a strong warning for the two Britons, and a little bit disappointing from Neil Horsfield.
Well, all in all, a good night, and that women's 200 metres the highlight, I
suppose.
That
was a great run. That's the best. That's one of the best pieces of athletics I've seen for a long time.
OK, Brent, thanks very much indeed. Well, we've got more athletics for you in Grandstand over the weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, and those European Championships begin on Monday week. Watch them with us on BBC Television. Cheerio.
Cricket now on one, and highlights from today's play in the NatWest semi-finals, introduced by Richie Benno.
Welcome to the highlights of the NatWest semi-finals of 1990. The two matches being played today. Up at Old Trafford, it's Lancashire at home to Middlesex, and more about that from Tony Lewis later in the programme. Here at Southampton, it's Hampshire hosting Northamptonshire. When the two captains went out to toss this morning after a half-hour delay, they announced those teams. Very strong bowling side for Hampshire. Backer, Connor, Maru, the left-arm spinner, Ayling, and above all, Marshall, the brilliant West Indian all-rounder, fast bowler extraordinaire, and a man who will have a great influence on this match. Northants a good all-round side. They're in form at the moment. Larkins is back to batting form, and Lamb is in tremendous touch after the test match. Now, the two umpires, Kevin Lyons and Alan Whitehead, Hampshire won the toss and put Northants into bat, thereby condemning themselves possibly to batting in bad light later in the day against Kirtley Ambrose and Robinson. We join play now in the fourth over. 6 runs are on the board. Backer is the bowler. He's coming in to bowl to Fordham.
And it's out. Long hop hooked.
From outside the off stump, straight to John Ayling, just in front of square on the leg side. He knocked it up, and Hampshire take their first wicket. It was interesting watching that shot. Just watch his back foot. It's hardly gone back at all. In fact, it's almost a front foot pull. Marshall to Wayne Larkins. Oh, beautifully bowled. Set the man back for the hook and then bowled the swinging half volley outside the off stump.
Just moves away. It's a beautiful delivery, and once again, look where Parkes is taking that. He's not a tall man, but it certainly climbed as it passed the batsman.
Cardigan Connor to Nigel Fulton.
Ayling. Oh, beautifully done. Oh, that must have been excruciatingly close. What a lovely piece of fielding.
Well, this was really exciting cricket. Nudged it, off like a hare, quick as it can, pick up on the run, fast throw. My goodness me, would you like to have been the umpire there?
Oh, there's a good shot. Larkins has broken free. That's galvanised by that short single to Ayling. Lovely piece of fielding that was.
That's a fine shot. Half volley on the leg stump, and Wayne Larkins, as has already been said, knows what to do with them.
I think the thing is, you see, that Wayne Larkins is just beginning to find his touch. He's had a couple of balls on the leg stump, and he's waiting for the ball. He's in position early, waiting for it, not trying to hit it too hard, just clipping it away.
John Ayling. They look for two here. Good running. And that brings up the 50 for Northampton in the 20th over. So they've just got up to 2.5 and over after a very sticky, tight start. And that's gone straight up in the air. Gower's underneath it and catches it beautifully. Well judged catch, never in danger. Good pair of hands, David Gower.
Felton here turns the bat just that bit too early, gets the leading edge, and he was certainly hitting that ball because it went pretty high. Now, this is the sort of catch that you don't really want on a one-day game, on a windy day. The whole crowd is holding its breath and you're underneath it, but Gower, very experienced, makes absolutely no mistake. Turning the bat, goes high in the air. Gower judges the catch perfectly. And that can't have been easy on a breezy day, but beautifully judged.
Yes, now the Northampton captain, Alan Lamb.
This is Rajesh Maru. He's picked the gap perfectly there. The man on the boundary is out at cover, but he's got it away past Mike Nicholas's left hand.
Well, Maru here giving far too much room to a great square cutter like Alan Lamb. He picked his spot and cracked it between the two men behind square.
That is a wonderful hit. Larkins and Lamb have targeted Maru and Ayling, and that was a beautiful stroke.
Well, Wayne Larkins plays this shot often to the spinners over long on, but not often to the medium paces, so he must be feeling pretty confident and in good nick.
It's just short of Connor. 100 up now in the 31st over. And they're really getting stuck into it now, Lamb and Larkins. Oh, well bowled. A great slower ball from Jonathan Ayling, completely deceived Larkins. He played 1, 2, almost 3 shots at it. Eventually, it found the outside edge, and Bobby Parks took a good catch. It's unusual that it carried as far as the keeper, but it was superbly bowled.
Well, the bowler completely deceives Larkins. He plays no sort of shot. In the end, he just sort of pokes his bat at it, no feed. He's not positive at all about it. A cleverly bowled wicket there for the bowler.
That was a really good stroke. Stroke of a man who's made a lot of runs so far this summer.
Well, you won't see many better shots than this from a batsman who's just come in. He absolutely cracked it off his toes with beautiful timing. Easy, effortless, just waited for the ball.
Cracking stroke. Oh, he is in touch. We were talking earlier when we were waiting for the game to start about the personnel in this north-hand side, and we were chatting about David Capel, who has had a terrific run. What a good shot.
Marshall to Capel. Every now and then, Malcolm Marshall lets one go, and it's like lightning.
So disconcerting for the batsman, knowing he's always got this in his armoury. It was quite well played by, there we go, he got in a nice position there and dropped the wrist, but quite where you're going to get runs off a delivery like that, I can't quite imagine.
Well, they steered that over the top of slips. I think if we watch that carefully, that will be proved.
Yes, I'm quite sure it's the same sort of delivery, very close to him, but he definitely swayed back and just almost uppercut the ball over the top of the 2 slips.
Backer. And that's flipped high in the air. Nicholas is under it, and he drops it. Difficult catch, very difficult catch indeed. Nicholas got to it very well, and he was slightly unbalanced as he got to it.
This was a very difficult catch, running backwards, having to catch the ball coming really over his left shoulder. Strong breeze, judges it pretty well, but he just comes back at him at the last minute.
And that's a tremendous square cut by Capel. Terrific square slash.